I'm a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. I'm a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. I'm a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. And I'm bringing souls to Allah by the service that I give. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. It's a battle out there. You see him coming. You hear the sirens, the blaring, the trumpets are humming, the Fahrenheit to 60 degrees with you, Ali. He bring out the sword of justice and peace there be. You can't fight fire with fire, you gotta have water, water is the truth. I splash it, wholehearted, on the front line, the ills are known. Target my mouse like a match, it strikes when I spark it. Blue state lace, negative, I stomp it. Passions and desires, that's why we have the compass. Strong men and women sign up with the prophet, knowing nationality is our biggest losing target. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier. And Sam ain't my uncle. Sam brainwashes, leaving soldiers in the rubble. In the war, the soldiers fight beef for power, not for struggle. I'm a soldier of the truth, and I'm fighting for the struggle of humanity, because of the man in me. Somebody gotta stand from the evil and the tyranny, protected by the shield of Allah. Ain't no harmony. Victory is sure in his battle, but some harmony. Strong men and women stand with the fight, knowing nationality is our biggest losing target. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. I'm a soldier, soldier on the battlefield, on the battlefield, on the battlefield. They got me military minded, waving green flag, military right behind it. From a lost nation, one day they gon' find it. Claiming all these titles, people so narrow-minded. Like they forgot about the past, hanging from the trees, named from your slave mask, burning us alive, raping women, psychopath. And he claiming he was right with the Bible in his hand. I bet you didn't read that scripture. Boot to your face, get your brainwashed, river. 500 years and we still going through. Stay blinded if you want, I'm a soldier of the truth.
Islam, Islam, Islam. First I rise and give praise to Allah, the Father of the universe. I give high honor to the last prophet in these days, the illustrious prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Brother Y. Cyrus Ill here again. Praise Allah. Here to straighten out there's a little bit of confusion. Seems like we got a little bit more confusion going on here. You know, we want to make sure that everyone is clear on the truth. You know, I have with me my brother, I'm actually a Sheikh and Divine Minister of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Praise Allah. I have another minister with me, brother El Serrano Bey. Brother Serrano Bey, you want to reintroduce yourself to the Moors?
Islam, brother El Serrano Bey, Sheikh and Minister in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm also the founder of Moorish American Resource School, and it is a pleasure to be here. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. So we're back. You know, we wanted to, like I said, clarify for those that may be confused. Apparently, we had a little bit of additional back and forth about this topic. You know, we are discussing, you know, this back and forth with the brother Taharka Bey. Regarding the path leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I wanted to continue honors to my brother, Brother M. Young Bey, Sheikh, and I believe a minister out of Temple Number 9, Chicago, Illinois, grandson of Sister Tiggs Ill. Praise Allah. You know, we meant to, it's been a little hectic. You know, there's a lot going on right through here, and based on the timing crunch, this is actually about 3 weeks out from the last we heard from the brother Taharka Bey. I want to take my time and gather information, make sure we had the accurate truth, the actual truth. In doing that, I reached out to several of our, you know, members of the Moorish Science Temple of America that are researchers, you know, and brother Young Bey is a very, very interesting He's a legacy member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. His grandmother was Sister Tiggs Ill, who made the Prophet's robe That I think it's which one of the robes is Sister Tiggs made. I know Sister Lovell made the one on the Constitution and bylaws. I think Sister Tiggs made one of the other prophets' robe. He's gonna be mad that I didn't get that one right. I think it was the prophets. I don't know if it was the prophet seated. But she's one of the early seamstresses, famous, well-known seamstresses of the Moorish Science Temple of America and early members. But anyway, Brother Taharka Bey apparently has been ducking Brother Young Bey. Brother Young Bey got a lot of things that he was trying to straighten out a couple of years ago, and he went onto the platform, and Taharka Bey did what he does, which was avoid the truth. He's supposed to be the defender of the truth, but he avoided the truth. I want to give honor to Brother Young Bey. I wanted to get a clip from him. He has a lot of very powerful information. We'll make sure to get some of it on the record about Temple number 9, which was the Prophet's Temple, because that's part of this discussion. But so I want to give honor to the brother. The intention of this video, real quick, is to clear up any questions. It is, we want to make sure to clear up any confusion. This is not to the title of this particular second presentation is the talking about the anarchists exposed, because we do not want to create additional discord. At the end of the day, after kind of marinating and reflecting on this a little bit, I believe that's also one of the motives of the brother, is to in order to gain followers and subscribers, he actually needs to generate some discord amongst the members of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. So we want to avoid that by unpeeling these old wounds that are really, at the end of the day, kind of irrelevant, to some degrees. I believe they are not relevant. Like the Elder Moors always say in the Moorish Science Temple of America, what's the salvation in that? What you're talking about, with information that you're bringing, what is the salvation? There's no salvation in us. Right now, the Moors, we are a little behind the 8 ball. And the prophet said, if you're not careful 50 years from now, he said it'll take you 50 years before you realize what I brought you. And if you're not careful, it'll take you 50 years from now, you won't even know that he was dead. So we need to focus on the future and coming together and not descending into discord. I want to real quickly share, so I have right here, this is from the Holy Quran of the Moorish side, the Holy Quran of Mecca, about truth versus falsehood. We know in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America says that in all the world there are 2 things. The one is truth, and the other is falsehood. And falsehood is that which seems to be. Truth is but one. The outline we're going to go over today, if you wish to kind of cut right to the chase, hopefully you can see this whole thing. We're going to put down in the title, just below the title and description for this video, which will be it'll rest on our channel on YouTube, the exact time in this video that these particular topics come up. We're going to go over right now. I just went over the statement of intent, and this is a presentation of the outline. I'm gonna make a couple of real brief disclaimers, right? So when someone is trying to create drama, right, it's trying to stir strife, right? I wanted to, you have to avoid that. You need to be aware of the approach that they're using. So I wanted to make a couple of quick disclaimers, and then we're gonna go directly into the remaining, this information about the first Supreme Grand Advisor and moderator, our past leader, beloved past leader, Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. In all of these accusations, we're going to go into a summary of the accusations made. We're going to do a rebuttal of the new and additional claims that the brother seems to want to kind of drag this out a little bit. If you missed the summary of the basic clarifications, you want to go back and watch the first video. Part 1 of this kind of explains who Brother Kirkman-Bey is, what his credentials and authority was, and what he actually did. It doesn't make any real good sense that these accusations that the brother is leveling. But we're gonna rebut the new ones, these additional claims that he seemed to muster together on his second last video. And then we're gonna go over quite a few of the remaining claims. This brother is machine gunning off a lot of confusion. A lot of it is really petty, a lot of it really silly, but we're gonna try to address as many of them as possible. Some of them, just if you're using good common sense, don't make sense on their face. And then at the end, we're going to get into Brother Taharka Bey himself. We know Brother Serrano Bey, right? The definition of nationality is the quality or the character that arises from the fact that of a person belonging to a nation or a state. And a lot of what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is about character. So if you're claiming to be, you know, Grand Sheik or Supreme Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you better make sure that you got the character of a basic member, you know, of a basic Muslim. And you know, it's a very interesting situation. We're gonna kind of look a little closer at some discrepancies regarding that. So we're going to Brother Taharka Bey's contradictions, his lies. He's got a whole list of lies and his credibility. And then I want to end by discussing the creation, evolution, and the degeneration of that platform, the Moorish World TV platform. So let me quickly go into these disclaimers. And I started to put up, I mean, I really wanted to put out the definition of hypocrisy. I didn't get a chance to scramble and put all of the slides together. But, you know, a message to the Moorish Science Temple, members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that, you know, our present goal is, and let me do this real quick before I say that. Let me do this. Let me stop sharing here. I'm going to share my screen. Our present goal is to unify. As we think about what the Prophet Noble Jew Ali wanted us to do, we are supposed to be, see what's going on here real quick. Hang on one second.
A few weeks after the fatal stabbing of his assistant, Claude Green. Let me...
We're supposed to be working to unify the Moorish Science Temple of America. And, you know, we can't afford right now to be distracted by nonsense and, you know, attempts to actually divide us. You know, this makes me think about, you know, what happened in Spain, right? 1492, the Moors fell out of Spain trying to defend Granada. And there was a particular character at that time. For those that know the history of Granada, there were two kings in the end of Granada. It was Boabdil and Azaghal, the last two kings. You know, Moorish Spain actually had two kings at the very end. And Azaghal was a valiant king who was very self-sacrificing, actually. And you remember in the end of that story, when he left Granada to go to try to save Malaga, this really interesting character, Boabdil, who was the heir to the throne, fighting his own uncle, created a lot of drama that divided the Moors up. And actually, you know, the valiant attempts by Azaghal to try to muster the Moors and rally the Moors together and save us at the end, because of the division caused by one person, the Moors fell. There's a text that says that, you know, I've seen a text where it says that Azaghal was the last king of Spain and sold it for $2 million. I think that comes out of Dakota's Time Walker. But in actuality, you know, the story that I'm familiar with is Azaghal actually was, you know, because he fought so valiantly to try to save the city surrounding Granada and was being sabotaged by his nephew. When he finally gave up, you know, he had no other options that he could do. He was given a plot of land by the Christian powers, Ferdinand and Isabel, and he rejected it. And he went into Africa, and they abused him in Africa because of that. Boabdil was the one who gave up the city. So we need to watch, Moors. We're not here to, we need to be coming together right now. We don't need to descend into discord because of someone whose principles are not even married up to what we're trying to do. I also want to, that's the first disclaimer. Here's the second one. And that was to the members of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. To outsiders of the Moorish Divine National Movement, Moorish Science Temple of America, that are being attacked by this platform. Those like currently, I believe he's ingrained into a battle with the FBA. He's attacked the Nation of Islam. He's attacked the New Black Panther Party. I don't know if they believe the Hebrew Israelites. We need to be clear that Brother Taharka Bey and Moorish World TV has nothing at all to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America, has no connection to the Moorish Science Temple of America. We need to be clear. We apologize for the confusion, because sometimes when, as we get into analyzing who it is that we're dealing with, you know, I believe that this brother goes off the scale of just being a liar or a pathological liar. I'm gonna save that for the end. He's really out of control, but he make no distinction that he has no connection to the Moorish Divine and National Moorish Science Temple of America. The Prophet Noble Jew Ali set up a system called the charter system, where the Moorish Science Temple of America cannot be, you can't claim that you are the Moorish Science Temple, just like you can't claim you're the owner of any corporation or a trademark or anything like that, or corporation, when you don't own it. You know, there's a very specific way that actually works. The brother Taharka Bey doesn't represent, he has no membership in any temple anywhere. Taharka Bey does not carry what the Moors and those inside of the movement and outside of the movement understand. You know, you get a nationality card when you proclaim your nationality according to Act 6 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Brother Taharka Bey has no card. He's not an active member. He does not have an active card. He's not a card-carrying member of any temple or the Moorish Science Temple of America. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna actually stop. I'm gonna share this real quick. You know, as I discussed this charter system that we use. Brother Taharka Bey, who claims to be a official in the Moorish Science Temple of America, this brother actually has, you know, in the charter system, you have a lot of people that actually use false charters, which in itself is a deep demonstration. It's a funny thing. This brother has 5 different charters. He's actually, I'm presented here, he's using 5 charters in the last 2 years. Let's take a look. This is the brother, and his studio is very interesting. I'm gonna again try to keep this on how I'm discussing. I'm not discussing the brother personally. I'm discussing the Moorish Science Temple of America. This is one charter. This is him, same room, same place. Charter number 1. Charter number 2. Different backgrounds, you know, he's got a lot of different, it's interesting how often his background changes in the so-called temple or studio that he works out of. We're gonna go into that too. This is still charter number 2. Take a close look. In the last 2 years, and going back further, I didn't get a chance because he's been deleting a lot of videos. He's moving around kind of funny, you know, that's how it is when you're defending falsehood. You got to kind of keep changing your position. So a lot of videos have come down recently, but now you can't get away that easily more. You got to stop, you know, harassing the Moorish Science Temple of America with the falsehood and then claiming to be with the prophet. You know, that's kind of twisted. This is charter number 3. It's taped to the wall. Doesn't even have a frame on it. Examine it pretty closely. When you get a chance, go back and look at this. It's charter number 3. This is the same charter number 3, taped to the wall. What type of presentation is that? Clearly printed too. Same charter number 3. This is charter number 4. When you go back and look at them closely, you can see the little subtle differences between each one of them. Why would you have 5 different charters and claim to be a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America or an official in the Moorish Science Temple of America? This is charter number 5. I try to control my tone a little bit. Just gonna keep it like my brother used to always say, or D-Way Ill would always say, just the facts. Charter number 5. 5 different charters in 2 years. That's roughly 2.5 charters a year, per year. It's the same charter number 5. He is not a representative of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We do, you know, I feel horribly for a lot of the confusion that he's causing, but we want to be clear about what's going on here. And go back to that other screen share as we get closer to going into information regarding Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. Let me see if I can find my where did my what's it called go? Hang on for a second. Safari. Wow, I seem to lost one of my pages here. Hold on, let me try this. So next, we're gonna go into the summary of allegations. There it is right there. Okay, so I gotta escape. Summary of allegations of Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. Hang on 1 second. 1 more second more. Trying to get my, here we go. Let's go back to that. So the original claims that the brother made was that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey had no authority. And again, all of these things were addressed in the part 1. You want to go back to the part 1 video. It should be connected to this. If you look, the slander and lies of Taharka Bey about the Moorish Science Temple of America, Debunked, part 1. He claims that the election was improper. We cleared that by going into HER's revised statutes. He said Brother Kirkman-Bey did no work, and we showed the works of Brother C. Kirkman-Bey, which were elaborate for the 30 years that he served. And then he made this claim early on that Brother Kirkman-Bey is working in conjunction with Claude Green Bey. And you know, we clarified that you don't have any, there is no proof, there's no evidence of that. And he tried to double down on that claim in his last video. So we're gonna go into that. And I want to clear that once and for all. And so yeah, that's what we went over. That was the summary of part. This was a summary of his original claims and our response to those, cleared each of those issues. And I wanted to go to Brother Serrano Bey actually to speak to. I know you want to speak to his motive, right? You got a very interesting way of looking at, you know, we're talking about just using general basic logic. The way of looking at what Brother Taharka Bey, who doesn't really have a clear motive, he actually made a claim in the last video that he represents the truth, and his truth is supposedly for those that are trying to make progress in the Moorish Science Temple of America. But you'll see when we look upon closer analyzation, this brother doesn't represent truth at all. You know, we caught him flat lying a handful of times. We're gonna go over the list of his lies, but you wanted to speak to, you spoke to his actual motive. I don't know if you wanted to address that real quick, Brother Serrano Bey. If you're clear on the point that I'm referring to,
Islam.
You got the floor.
Islam, praise Allah. Brother Taharka Bey had made the statement that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey started his own organization, right? And with this statement, he says that this is the reason why Brother C. Kirkman-Bey's organization is not the Prophet's organization. But then he turns around and starts his own organization called the Noble Temples, right? Mm-hmm. And so our brother is literally doing exactly what he accused Brother C. Kirkman-Bey of doing and calling himself legit. And it's a contradiction.
Right.
It's a contradiction.
Right, absolutely. Also, and that's actually interesting when you think about it. You know, that's when you can tell. I call it the shell game. Somebody's trying to run game on you. It's kind of like an insult to your intelligence. It's like, okay, so you're saying Brother Kirkman-Bey wasn't perfect, and I'll go on a limb and say, because as I went around the country this week, you know, talking to some of the Moors that I could actually reach with the time that we had the last couple of weeks, you know, the way that the Moors, you know, we kind of fell in a sense, right, brother? It started off with Brother Claude Green Bey, and I also wanted to say that, you know, in my disclaimer, we ain't gonna air all of the dirty laundry of the Moorish divine and national movement. That's not what we're here to do. And I part of avoiding the kind of like a troublemaker is I'm not going there. I know that's what you want. Let's just air all our dirty laundry, start some new fights, and I got the video camera. I'm going to record everything. We're not going to go into all of those details, you know. But the reality is that the Moorish Science Temple of America, you know, we've had challenges in terms of fighting. What happened with Brother Green Bey, I think, set it off. In my opinion, I would say Brother Green Bey set it off. And the responses by the Moors, supposedly to try to protect the Prophet, just made things worse, you know. And the reality is we had to kind of gather ourselves where we got the Prophet. You know, the Prophet ended up not being able to be with us as long as he could have, because of fighting over. You know, Moors want to challenge the Prophet. Other Moors want to protect the Prophet. Now the Prophet is, you know, got installed in all of the drama. And, you know, we had to kind of bring it together. But in the process of trying to figure out who was going to take the succession of the Prophet afterwards, you know, it wasn't a perfect situation. It wasn't a perfect scenario. But it wasn't foul the way that this brother's trying to make it seem. You know, it wasn't perfect, but it was far from foul. And in actuality, when we look at this, we kind of look with a calm, objective point of view. You see that there was a lot of confusion. Even Brother Mealy Ill, you know, I think there was some, you know, some bad judgments that are made. Again, and I'm not going to offend because he's also a past leader, and a leader of many of the Moors in the divine and national movement. But it wasn't a perfect situation. I wanted you to also speak to Brother Serrano Bey. Were you able to find that piece about Brother Kirkman-Bey's credentials? There were two different points. You had a point number 3 here about honored and honorary. If you want to do that now, and then afterwards kind of speak to what brother the official position was that Brother Kirkman-Bey held, other than as well as Supreme Grand Advisor and moderator.
Praise Allah.
And when you're ready to share your screen, let me know, and I'll turn this off.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. You got it. Take your time, actually. In the meantime, again, to summarize what we did, using just basic common sense in part one, if Brother C. Kirkman, you can go into the details of this by looking at that video. I don't want to restate anything twice, but Brother C. Kirkman-Bey, had the honor to officiate the Prophet's funeral. I looked it up, actually. I wanted to re-clarify a couple of things. I was able to confirm that Brother Mealy Ill was able to speak at the funeral as well, but Brother Kirkman-Bey did the rites, and he did a very powerful job in terms of representing for the Prophet. So if someone is able to speak at a funeral for a leader such as Prophet Noble Jew Ali, how would it make any sense that he didn't have any authority at all, that he would, be a non-sheikh or wouldn't be able to serve as a leader duly elected of the Moorish Science Temple of America? It doesn't make a lot of logical sense. Spoke at the funeral, spoke at the second convention, and he went with the Prophet to the Pan American Conference in Havana, Cuba. Travel with him, part of the traveling retinue around the country. Doesn't really make a lot of sense that he would have no credentials.
Islam?
Islam.
Islam. So we have this letter here from Brother Emily Ill, right? Signed by Brother Emily Ill. And this letter was written in 1930, right? So this is a year after the second annual national convention. So understand that the narrative that is being displayed is of someone who is upset, right? Someone who is in regret. And he says, we honored Brother Kirkman with papers of the Prophet's credentials to show him we appreciated his service he performed over the Prophet's body while in the state. And what I want to put emphasis on is we honored, right? We. It doesn't say Brother Emily Ill honored Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. It says we. So if Brother Emily Ill is in sole authority or leadership of the Moorish Science of America, it would say I and not we, right? So we honored. Honored does not mean honorary. An honorary degree, as what is always conveyed, is a degree that is given to someone, right, who is not necessarily qualified as a doctor. It could be revoked. It could be taken at any point in time, but it doesn't say honorary. It says honored, and honorary, as it relates to an honorary degree, are not synonymous with each other.
Good point.
So what we have done is we have taken a word and taken it out of context to fit our own narrative as to what we think is being presented to us. And we have to be careful and really concentrate on reading comprehension.
Right. If I could jump in real quick, and then I know you were also going to talk about his position. I meant to say something about this letter. Also in the last video, he claims that so I was trying to introduce to the viewers, the members of the Moorish National Movement, this idea of using good logic. And he goes into the logic on his letter, and he's like, oh, wow, this is the logic that, let me pull my screen back up. This is the logic that the Moors are using for why they put Brother Kirkman-Bey over Brother Emily Ill, and his letter is not saying that, it's saying this. And in that moment, for those that remember the statement that he made about this letter, why are you showing this letter? He kept saying that makes no sense, because Emily Ill was saying that the Prophet said that he was supposed to be the leader, but you're saying your logic, these crazy Moors' logic is saying that this is the reason why Brother Kirkman-Bey was the leader. And in that he missed, it shows that he's either not using very good logic or he's not being sincere. He's being disingenuous. The purpose for showing the letter was not to say that this is why we made Brother Kirkman, they elected to put Brother Kirkman-Bey as the leader. what it's saying is that these are the actual words from Brother Emeliel. And Brother Emeliel's own words, he's saying himself, true or false, that Brother Kirkman-Bey was next in line. He was also important in line. That's why, and the keys are not the keys to the desk or just keys to finances. The more read it, the more that are really reading in between the lines of this are saying, you know, if the prophet is saying he trusts him with his money, that means he trusts him to run the organization. But he missed that logic. He's saying, and he totally missed it. Emeliel was saying with his words, you know, interestingly about this document, I won't say who, and I specifically didn't honor all of the Moors that I was, you know, reached out to this week in terms of our researchers and scholars, because I don't think they necessarily, you know, will feel very on. You know, aside from a few people I will name, I don't think they feel the need to be connected to this mess. But one of them told me that this letter is actually an old forgery. Somebody forged this letter. And I can't remember if it goes back as far as somebody in Emeliel's camp or during the time of Brother Emeliel or just after his when he made his transitions, his transition, peace and blessings be upon Brother Emeliel. This letter is actually a forgery, but either one of them they don't really matter. My point was, if these were the words, these were indeed the words of Brother Emeliel, he's admitting himself that Kirkman-Bey held rank in the fact that he would be the second person, the backup person, if he were not able to, per what the prophet supposedly said. Thank you, Brother Serrano Bey, for giving me that minute. I know you were going to make another point about Brother Kirkman-Bey's position outside of Supreme Grand Advisor and Moderator.
Islam, yes. I have what we have, and I think you've expressed eloquently in the first video. By the way, if you're watching this video and you have not seen the first response, I highly recommend that you go back and watch the first video. But when we talk about the 6th Pan American Conference, and we speak about the role that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey played with Prophet Noble Drew Ali, if this Brother C. Kirkman-Bey is just an ordinary brother, he doesn't hold any position, he doesn't have any significance to the organization, then there wouldn't be a need for him to attend the 6th Pan American Conference with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's number one. Secondly, there would not be a need for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali to convey to Brother Emeliel that if he was to leave the office at any time, to give the keys to Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. And so these things, these points will not exist. And these points are not only confirmed with government document, but it's also confirmed by the actual words of Brother Emeliel about the keys to the office. And as I'm trying to pull this up, as it relates to the keys to the office, as well as going to the 6th Pan American Conference, which in the first video, Brother Grand Sheikh Y. Sarasil had provided the documentation that lists Prophet Noble Drew Ali as well as Brother C. Kirkman-Bey as an attendance in the 6th Pan American Conference.
I can pull that up for you real quick. Tell me when you find the file that you're looking for, and I'm gonna unshare my screen, Sheik. Okay, you got it.
Islam. So we have this here, all right, and I'm published in the Moorish Guide newspaper, right? So we know this trip was a fact. Doesn't matter what part of who you claim as your leadership. We know this trip is a fact, right? Trips of the Prophet. The conference that was held in Havana, Cuba, January 1928, was attended by the Prophet, who went in the conference and connected the Moors of North America back to the Asiatics, brothers and sisters in Cuba. The Prophet made the tour. I can't really make out what that says, Brother Kirkman-Bey, and can't really make that out, right? But we see that this is published in the Moorish Guide newspaper. It was published August 24th, 1928, right? So we know this is an actual event that happened. And then we have, you know, the oral accounts of Sister M. Lovett-Ill, also known as Sister
Whitehead Ill.
M. Whitehead-Ill, as well as Brother Cook-Bey. And so a lot of times brothers and sisters like to say, well, they enemies of the prophet, right? They were co-conspirators. And what they have done is they have used an unsubstantial argument to invalidate what they're saying. So you have to prove first that they were co-conspirators. You can't just make statements like that and then try to use that to disregard everything that they said, everything that they saw, everything that they've documented. And so, you know, it's disingenuous. Prove that first before you try to use that to unsubstantiate the claim of Sister Whitehead and Brother Cook-Bey.
Mm-hmm. You also had something that you said he had a position of what was the position that pull my notes of what you actually mentioned?
Islam, yeah. I have a
secretary.
I have an article that I can't seem to find at the moment, but when I do find it, I will definitely provide it. But it's an article that lists Brother C. Kirkman-Bey as a language secretary, which goes in conjunction with the reports by Brother Cook-Bey and Sister Whitehead-Ill as it relates to Sister M. Lovett-Ill unknowingly reintroducing the prophet to Brother C. Kirkman-Bey to translate a book that was written in High German. And these are two different accounts, two different times by someone who was recognized as the first woman who was the head of any Islamic group, Temple Number 9, as well as Brother Cook-Bey, who was not only a Grand Sheikh, but a governor of Maryland.
He was governor of Maryland, right. She was who was the governor? Yeah, there was another governor of Illinois.
I believe years later he moved to Chicago and then became I believe an emeritus grand governor of Illinois.
Islam. If you stop sharing your screen, I actually pulled a file for Sister Lovett-Ill. And let me see if I can find which one it is. I think it's this one. That actually, so I want to kind of continue with that thought that you said about her. So you triangulated that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey was in the Pan American Conference because of that article that you showed, as well as this is Sister M. Lovett-Ill right here. She graced the cover of the Moorish Guide, actually, this past issue. And you know, so we got the article, you have the manifest from the ship that carried the prophet and Brother Kirkman-Bey and whatever other Moors down to the Pan American Conference. And then you have Sister M. Lovett-Ill, who made a statement. She was a witness, right? So we're talking law. You're talking about a witness, a direct witness. And Sister Lovett-Ill's, you know, in photographs with the prophet, always on the right side, always guarding the Moorish flag. So you can't discount that. She was the Grand Sheikh of Temple Number 9, as you just said. She, the first woman head of any Islamic organization, which is powerful. You know, definitely the first female Grand Sheikh is in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And in her oral statement, which we went over in the first video, she's saying that's what actually happened. So you can't write that off easily. I'm gonna leave her picture up there as I go into this next portion, which is the statement of allegations. The newest claims that Brother Taharka Bey made was that one, Brother Kirkman-Bey is still connected to Claude Green Bey under his estimation, and this kind of strange theory that he spun together. And we're gonna circle back around and zero in on that. But I want to mark these are the big allegations that I wanted to make sure to speak to in his long 3-hour rant reply video. He also says that most of the temples went with Brother Emili-Ill. And we're gonna speak to that. You know, which was his big, you know, aha moment. We don't, you know, and let me clarify that I didn't realize myself. See, because honest truth is important. And I'm trying to speak with a steady eye. Let me take my camera off for a minute. Let me speak with a steady eye. That I was not aware. I forgot that Brother Kirkman-Bey actually did not actually stay with the Moorish Science Temple of America under C. Kirkman-Bey based off of what I was able to see. You know, that part I wasn't aware. All of the other stuff about all of these temples being with Brother Meliel is confusion. It's not accurate at all. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. But so he says all the temples went there. He said there were no elections. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and share my video. I'm going to stop sharing this. This Moor said that senators in his video, I'm gonna get this on the record when he actually said it. He said the Senate does not, the senators in the United States of America happen by appointment. Let me see if I can find a part where he said that at. Let me see something real quick. It was one right about here. Listen to this brother, and this actually says something about. Again, we're gonna talk about who you're dealing with in terms of his. You know, his understanding level, his level of understanding is very suspect, actually. Let's first hear his words. Tell me if you can or can't hear this, Brother Serrano Bey. Let me cut the volume on.
The Supreme Grand Council was put together so it can be organized how leadership takes place. And leadership takes place by appointment, not election. In other words, Prophet Noble Drew Ali appointed Meliel, and the grand body have to accept it. It's kind of like I didn't pull that letter out. It's kind of like the Senate. When someone is appointed to the Senate, the other group, they have to accept it. They have to confirm it. The Senate confirmation. You know what I mean? And that's just how the Moorish Science Temple works. So there is no election that brings people into power of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The way the system works,
all right, so I'm gonna stop right there, and he goes into this how the system works. But he said on record that senators are appointed, and I mean, Prophet said he wanted us to be, you know, a specific organization. He wanted us to teach those things to make our members better citizens, and that's pretty poor civics. You know, early on in the United States, senators were being appointed. They were the opulent. They were being appointed, you know, by the legislatures. But after 1913, Brother Taharka Bey, that's not accurate information at all. Senators are all duly elected. So he makes the point about there were no elections. He talks about, and Brother Serrano Bey, I wanted you to inject your point number one that you made, which was about this mistake, documentation around the mistake. He says that the 3rd, 4th, and 5th conventions, annual national conventions, respectively, of 1930, 31, and 32, never happened. Meliel through conventions, and the Moorish Science Temple of America under Brother C. Kirkman-Bey had no convention. And there's a very simple, and I'm gonna save it just for dramatic effect, very simple explanation. Truth trumps falsehood. You know, falsehood could try to work in the dark, but once the truth comes out, you know, falsehood don't have a chance. But I know you wanted to speak to that before I go into his last point, and then we're gonna go into the point-by-point rebuttal. Brother Serrano Bey, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th annual national convention. I know you had a point about the mistake.
Islam, yes. Can you see my screen, brother?
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing is we're going to look up the definition of mistake, right? Mistake. It says an action or judgment that is misguided or wrong, right? To be wrong about.
An error, a fault, an inaccuracy, omission, right? Slip, blunder, miscalculation, misunderstanding, oversight, right?
Exactly. A mistake, an action, decision, or judgment made with regret. Next thing, rescind, revoke, cancel, or repeal a law, order, or agreement. To recant. Recant, to withdraw or repudiate formally and publicly. Opinions formally expressed. To contradict as a former declaration, to take back openly. To retract. To recall. Say that one to say that one no longer holds an opinion, right? no longer holds
Mhm.
an opinion or belief, especially one considered heretical.
Mhm.
That's a topic for another time.
Mhm.
And so we have this letter that was published by Brother Emily Ill, and the date is 1930, right?
Mhm.
September 28th, 1930. This is a year after the second annual National Convention. What does he say? Islam. Brother C. Kirkman-Bey, this is to notify you that the above named organization, Moorish Science Temple of America, in convention, September 15th to the 20th, rescinded by what? Voting out the
Mhm.
mistake
Mm.
made by the second annual convention.
Mhm.
And so this is literally a letter
Mm.
of Brother Emily Ill admitting
Mhm.
that what? Not only do they vote,
Wow.
but he rescinded a
Mhm.
mistake. What
Mhm.
is a mistake? An action, decision, or judgment made with regret, but the regret does not change the action.
Mhm. That's right.
So that doesn't matter how you feel about it later. Officially, what was the action?
Mhm.
And then
Mm.
it goes on to say, uh, and in so doing, you hold your membership role as when our prophet was here. And we hope you will still cooperate with the organization under the five principles.
Mhm.
We hope further that you will comply with this notice and govern yourself accordingly, as there is but one
Mhm.
Supreme Grand Advisor in the Moorish Science Temple of America, that being Noble Drew Ali.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
anyone else attempting to be from now on is assuming authority of himself and is liable to the penalties of the law.
Interesting.
Peace. Moorish Science Temple of America. And so I want to put emphasis on this part here too, right? As there is but one Supreme Grand Advisor, right?
Mhm.
And it is Noble Drew Ali. And so when we try to create this narrative that the office of Supreme Grand Advisor was simply created for the purpose of advising someone, as if it is only secondary to someone to unsubstantiate the possible win over Brother Edward Millie, right? Brother
Right.
E. Millie Ill.
Right.
And so
Wow.
you try to downplay the office of Supreme Grand Advisor, but Brother E. Millie Ill said exactly what the office was intended for.
That's a smoking gun right there. Yeah. Wow. Good. Very good point, Sheik. Powerful. Hey, while we're on the context of this, I'm gonna break form a little bit from the way we planned to keep. As a matter of fact, keep going. I want you to. You had additional documentations of the use of that word mistake.
Islam. So here we have the annual national convention, and this is not the convention from 1934. This is convention from 1933. And
Hmm.
a lot of Moors try to say we didn't have a convention in 1933. Prove it. Show
Mhm.
documentation.
We can
Here it
clear
is.
that up. Mm-hmm.
This is a statement by brother T. Bay. It says the reason why uh, we have such great calamities in the law is the law. I can prove it to you before I sit down. In any, I can't really understand what that says, but the National Convention, it is not my intention to exclude this temple. I say we heads made a mistake in 1929.
Mm-hmm.
This is another statement from another brother who I believe was brother Dove Ill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you can't really see the name on this particular document. But I believe it was brother Dove Ill. Because there are some other commentary in the minutes. It says
Mm-hmm.
we elected. What does that say? We elected
Mm-hmm.
Brother C. Kirkman-Bey, Supreme Grand Advisor. behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And through a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
right? The prophet's law has not been carried out. And it seems that you do not want to carry it out. So these are two brothers who are they are disgruntled
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for the leadership of Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. So do you say that they are co-conspirators to the prophet when they didn't agree with Brother C. Kirkman-Bey?
Right.
But they agreed, and they agreed with Brother Emily Ill, right? Rescinded by voting out the mistake made by the Second Annual National Convention. But again, the word mistake, and we have to keep put an emphasis on mistake.
Mm-hmm.
An action, decision, or judgment made, right? An action or judgment that is misguided or wrong, error, fault, inaccuracy, but it does not change what happened officially in
Right.
1929. Doesn't
Right.
matter how you feel in 1930.
And you can't go back when you make an error like that, and it's an official motion that's carried in an organization. You can't just go back and say, I don't want to play by those rules. You got to either go back and get elected again, which we're going to go in. This goes into what really happened. You know, what really happened. Why would not, well, you know, why wouldn't the grand body, if you will, swing back and vote to reinstall Brother Emily Ill later on? If he had the ability and a pull to do that, what would actually happen? We're gonna go into those details. I wanted to see Brother Serrano, but to break a little bit of form, I was gonna say, I want to see. I think if you show that piece, that court order, I think that actually will fit right in here pretty nicely too. It kind of lines up with the point we're jumping between. We still got one last allegation that was made. And before I get to that, you know, if you want to show that that judge's order from 33.
Yes, I want to show it. I want to tie this in really quickly.
Take your
That's all
time.
right.
Take your time. Take your time. We good.
So I had mentioned that these are minutes from 1933. 1933, September 15th to the 20th. The reason why we have convention is to speak about the year that has just passed, right? This is our fiscal year where we talk about our finances, right? So this also is evidence that we were operating in 1922 as well, right? Because the year starts from the year before September 21st, after the convention. So if you look at the top, can you see this, brother?
Yes, I can. Business meeting of the grand body continued. Right. Sunday, September 17th, 1933.
1933. September 17th. Keep that date in mind. And to be truthful, everybody making these assumptions that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey manhandled the organization. He took over the organization. Brother C. Kirkman-Bey didn't even want to be the leader of the organization. And here's the evidence. Resignation of Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. 1933, he resigned. Put in a letter of resignation. Supreme Grand Advisor. After reading Brother C. Kirkman-Bey's resignation, Brother C. Foreman-Bey made the following statement. Under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, Prophet Noble Drew Ali declared there was no such office in the Moorish Science Temple of America as Supreme Grand anything. Right? Brother J. Blakely Bey stated that the grand body has the right to give their leaders any title they may decide upon. Brother J. Lovett Bey stated that the Quran teaches us that understanding is the rock on which man builds himself. He further stated that there has been trouble in the Moorish Science Temple and misunderstanding ever since Prophet Noble Drew Ali passed out of the body. The word supreme means the highest in authority, right? So what Brother J. Blakely Bey is referring to, that the grand body has the power to choose the title of the position. The title of the position doesn't dictate the description of the position.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Mm-hmm.
why those particulars have
Mm.
to be voted on. So
Mm.
what his source of that authority comes from Hurd's revised statutes. That's why we have to read
Right.
the Hurd's revised statutes, because it says that the trustees have the power to create the position or the title of the position as the head of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And we know trustee is synonymous with sheik. And so that's what Brother J. Blakely Bey is referring to, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Islam.
It says all offices declared vacant by a vote of the majority. Election of Supreme Grand Advisor, choosing a title for the brother who fills this office is leader. The majority voted that the title Supreme Grand Advisor shall be retained.
Mm.
Brother C. Kirkman-Bey was re-elected Supreme Grand Advisor of the Moorish Science Temple of America for the
Mm.
period of 1 year by what?
Unanimous vote.
Unanimous vote.
Oh.
So what happened to all of this smoke right here?
Mm.
What
Whoa.
happened to all of this, the smoke with Sister M. Drew Ali? What
Mm-hmm.
happened to it? He made
Wow.
all of these discrepancies, and then he gets voted in unanimously
Wow.
after resigning.
Right.
After
Wow.
resigning.
Show that list of the attendees on the bottom of that document there. That's powerful. Wow. T. Rhodesville, Grand Sheik Temple #1, Chicago, Illinois. Brother does that say E. Turner L, Grand Governor of Temple of the State of New York. Brother Nelson Bey, Grand Governor of Temple of the State of Michigan. Brother A. Brian Bey, Grand Governor of Temple in the State of Ohio. Brother, there's another, was a Brian Bey before. There's a Brian Bey now, Grand Governor of Ohio. Sister S. Jones Bey, Grand Governor's Temples in the State of New Jersey. Is that Sister, what's her, R. Jones Bey? I can't see that. That wasn't S.
Yes.
Jones.
R.
Brother Lovett Bey, Grand Governor of the State of Illinois. Sister, what does that say?
N.
Mentor Bey,
Mentor
Governor
Bey.
of Temple number in Toledo, 18, Toledo, Ohio. Brother J. Blakely Bey, Grand Governor of Temples in the State of Indiana. All of the officials mentioned above were elected by a majority vote of the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It was further stated and approved that each of the officers mentioned above should have or receive credentials to that effect from the grand body. Powerful, crazy. Praise Allah.
It's long.
So if you want to also go into, because Brother Millie was trying to, in this whole thing about it's a mistake and he wants to change the rules, try to take it to the he took it to the court. They actually had a case in the court, and then the court order is actually part of the record. Let me take a minute and reset mentality. This is not us against them. This Brother Marcus Garvey, the forerunner, says we have one aim, one God, and one destiny. We're all in this together. So Brother Mealy, it was all of our brother and past leader, was the prophet's right-hand man, and Brother Kirkman-Bey was as well. So we're not pitting against each other. We just, the brothers forced our hand to take a hard look at the facts. But this is not a divisive thing. This is not us versus them. This is all of us. This is us in the past. We got to move past this, brother minister.
Praise Allah. I think, and I thank you for that statement, brother, because this is not Brother C. Kirkman-Bey's organization. This is not Brother E. Millie Ill's organization. And once we can get past that and put ourselves within the Prophet's organization, then we can make the Prophet's organization what it needs to be, what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And so once we could get past all of that and bury the old blood in the sand, we can move forward.
Right.
If the history of it is something that is hindering you, then let's talk about it, right?
Islam.
So this is a court document dated September 19th, 1933, right? This is the same day as convention was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation versus E. Millie Ill. Right? State of Illinois, Cook County, Circuit Court of Cook County, right? Page 251, I think that says.
Like that.
circuit court judge. I can't read what that says, but it's
Name is at the bottom of the page too, though.
Islam, right? So signature, all right, judge. And what I can't really read all of this because of the way that it's written. The Grand Sheik, Brother Watch Cyrus, I read it just the other day. Brother's way better at
If you unshare, I have you sent me a copy. I have one on my computer. I'm gonna share it. I may be able to make it a little bit bigger or read it for you for me to read it on to the record.
praise Allah. Can you see this here?
Yeah, actually. Complaint upon proper as a matter of fact, Brother Serrano Bey, if you unshare, I'll be able to see a little bit bigger on my screen. I have the same one. See
Okay.
see if you can stop sharing and I'll just reshare from this file. Let me find that real quick. This is definitely a very good I'm glad you actually were able to cover. I was scrambling trying to find a copy of this.
Islam, while you're looking for it, what I wanted to do was try to translate that into something that is more easier to read and have them side by side. So it's not like, we're
Right.
just creating anything.
Right.
You have the source of it.
Yeah, so this one, as I can read here, and hopefully you could be able to see it also pretty clearly. Complaining upon proper, I think it's servicing mode or service mode. It is hereby ordered and decreed that in injunction, actually mentions an injunction, decreed that an injunction without notice to the other party, email ill issues, I don't know, this word right here is unclear. It looks like it reads like unstander with about, let me zoom out a little bit. Without bond, and the said mealy ill is restrained from further holding meetings in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation, or using any of the similar. Let's see what that word is. Let me make sure I don't read it wrong. Or using any of the. Oh man, I lost my place here. Similar. I can't make that out. It looks like last. It could be something to lead an ordinary thinking person. I think it talks about basically tricking somebody. Ordinary thinking person to believe that he is dealing with the Moorish, I think it's Moorish Science Temple of America, that this further enjoined from the appointing of an agent, employee, solicitor, or anyone to hold meetings in his stead, and further, it looks like enjoined, further enjoined from, I gotta zoom this back up again. Let me see if I don't lose my spot. You get the gist. Hold on. Hold meetings. Name or belonging to further displaying or using any literature. Can't make this word out here. In the name or belonging to the Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation, and said emaily ill is further enjoined from holding any and all property or was it propertic? Like proper, I can't make that, it looks like propertic form of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a corporation which belongs to anything that belongs to Moorish Science Temple. It is further, I don't know, I can't make this last sentence out, but this is clearly, this went against, point being, this went against Brother Mealy Ill. So actually, this speaks to a couple of different things in terms of what you read, Brother Serrano Bey, and the mistake, and then the push to try to return over the mistake. It didn't go in favor of Brother Mealy Ill, went in favor of Brother Kirkman-Bey, based on the documentation that the way the court ruled it. And actually, this also flies in the face. The brother said several times, I was going to mention this later on down the road, that he claimed, Taharka Bey claims that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey lost every case that he put in the court until 1935. I think he said when Brother Mealy Ill made his transition. And that's not the case. Right here in 1933, this is a court order and a loss. So we're just clearing the facts. We're not taking sides. These are both, as far as I'm concerned, these are both my ancestors and past leaders, beloved leaders. You know, they walk with the prophet. But truth is but one. And brother, thank you for that, Brother Serrano Bey. Let me real quickly keep moving. The last, we were still in the statement of allegations that were made, additional allegations. The last big one is that the Supreme Grand Council was supposed to elect or make certain decisions. This is another claim that Brother Taharka Bey made. So I want to do a point-by-point rebuttal. And in order to do that, unfortunately, you know, we've got to give a little bit of background in order to really understand what's going on and who, you know, what was going on with the conventions, who had the sway of who and what temples, why the temples decided to go in the direction that they went. You got to understand, and this is a part that you know, like I said, this is our past history. I consider a lot of this stuff as dirty laundry. This is not how, because these videos, this is a public platform. This goes out into the world. This is not the side of the Moorish Science Temple of America we need to be presenting. We need to be presenting the programs of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and what the Prophet's mission is and the upstanding character of the Moorish Americans. But because of this brother and the need to not have anyone confused based off of some thin lies that he made, I have to explain at least this portion of the unfortunate events that happened in the time of the Prophet. Near, you know, a lot of this is just caused the Prophet not to be able to spend more time with the Moorish Americans. Imagine if Prophet Noble Drew Ali was able to spend, you know, he transitioned at 43 years old. Imagine if he was able to live into his 70s or longer, and what he would have been able to accomplish, you know. But because the Prophet said Moors are hard-headed, stiff-necked group of people that never did anything by the point of a sword, we got this stuff that we have to, you know, really deal with. So there was, in order to understand all of the answers, you got to understand the case of the kidnapping of Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. And in this story, the central character is a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I believe out of Pittsburgh, Brother Ira Johnson Bey. Brother Ira Johnson Bey, you know, starts off as a fierce defender of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and kind of goes off when the Moors begin to not follow the honorably. They did not honor the Prophet properly. Started to do things. We know the story. I'm not going to say it and put it out into the airwaves. You got to come and join and learn that on your own if you need to know all of that information. And Johnson Bey started to go. He kind of went left really hard and created a lot of drama. And what ended up after the Prophet passed, based off of that same kind of set of circumstances, Brother Johnson Bey ends up, for whatever reason, kidnapping Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. After Brother Kirkman-Bey is duly elected to be the leader of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Supreme Grand Advisor and moderator. In this, there was a series of additional events in the kidnapping. So what actually happened is Ira Johnson Bey went first. And tell me, Brother Serrano Bey, say Islam after this point, if you have the document that Ira Johnson Bey went and first accosted Brother E. Mealy-Ill, looking, you know, himself striving to be the leader of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the passing of the Prophet. He got out a little bit out of pocket. He goes to Mealy-Ill looking for documentation that he felt like would make him the leader. I believe there were allegations that he pistol whipped Brother Mealy-Ill, and we'll look at the documentation to see. Brother Mealy-Ill doesn't have the documentation in one of the versions of the story, and I'm going to find out myself, because even this, I don't like a lot of this history. I haven't really done a whole bunch of background. I know the general story. I never delved real deep until I had to in this case into what this was all about. But some say that Brother Mealy-Ill, because he didn't have the documentation, pointed these Moors at Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. Another version of the story, as you read in the case itself, it just looks like, when I first read the articles, it looks like Brother Merely Ill sent them to Brother Kirkman-Bey. And Brother Kirkman-Bey ends up kidnapped by Brother Ira Johnson Bey. The police come, Sister Kirkman-Bey, because they came and got Brother Kirkman-Bey out of his home. Sister Kirkman-Bey, praise Allah, was left. She called the police. The police show up to where they took him at one of the Moors' apartments. And there's a shootout. 2 police get killed by the brothers that are holding Brother Kirkman-Bey as they're trying to rescue Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. And if you live in any city in the United States or any around the world, and you ever see a situation where a cop is even shot, wounded, a law forbid killed, you know how the situation usually really turns crazy at that point. The whole force is going to show up and be involved until the very end. And so there was a trial about this. And in this, you see these photographs. It makes sense of the photographs, why the courtroom is packed. What actually kind of a real quick summary of it, and we'll go into details. I'm gonna show some of the articles that show that Brother Mealy Ill was indicted, as well as you know, he was part of 5 Moors altogether that were indicted for murdering a police officer. He was indicted in the murder of these 2 officers. And Brother, it is a murder case, and Brother Mealy Ill was a witness. Kirkman-Bey, of course, was the star witness. He was the victim. He was the person that the police went to rescue. He was kidnapped. And the way it played out, the Moors, all of the Moors except for Brother Mealy Ill got life sentences. They were seeking a death sentence from some of them. A lot of them, I believe, got life. We'll show the articles. Brother Mealy Ill took the stand as a witness and ends up, he ends up free. And again, I'm not going to, you can kind of read between the lines of that on your own. I'm not going to speculate. I will read. These are some of the photographs. These are, this is Brother Ira Johnson Bey on the left, and Brother Jackson Bey and Brother A. Williams Ill on the right, who were part of the group that actually took part, and they were actually stood trial. This is a famous picture of Brother Kirkman-Bey during the trial after he was freed. And so I'm gonna read a little bit about this case to kind of, bring it down to the receipts in terms of what I just stated. And I wanted to see Brother Serrano Bey. Matter of fact, let me read the pieces into the case, and then if you have that, do you have that document about the when they first showed up to Brother Mealy Ill? Do you have that handy?
Islam, yes.
Praise Allah. So let me read these first 2, and then this will set the table for you to understand what happens after in those conventions. This is the actual reality. And this is what why Brother Taharka Bey didn't explain all of this becomes very curious. And it's always the case when someone's trying to manipulate a situation for their selfish self, right? So this is an article. This honors to Brother W. Curtis Bey, who actually is the curator for Moorish Society. He pulled this article that actually has a little bit of information. All these articles are available to the public. You probably have seen them before, but if you haven't, I'm not going to read the entire case. It actually spells all up what I said. I'm going to read a couple of details. So it says over here on this right column, it says Mealy Ill, who was indicted for the murder of Gallagher, was one of the officers, but whose attorney obtained severance, was the first witness to testify. Kirkman-Bey, the state's star witness, was called next. Kirkman-Bey declared that he was kidnapped from his home. Mealy Ill testified that a committee came to his house and requested him to accompany them to the 4139 South Parkway apartment, where Ira Johnson Bey awaited him, but declared that neither of the members of the committee was armed. Right? So this was Brother Mealy Ill's actually statement. This was his part of his argument. I'm going to come down here and read another part before I go into this piece about how large this case actually was. It was a really big deal. Let me see. Since the defendants are on trial for so this title of this article is "State Asked Death for 3 Moors." They were asking for the death sentence, as they do in those type of cases. So it says the defendants on trial for the slaying of William Gallagher, a European policeman who was killed in the vestibule of the apartment at 4139 South Parkway, Wednesday, September 25th. during a gun battle alleged to have been participated in by members of the cult and officers of 3 bureau squads. The policemen went to the South Parkway apartment to rescue Charles Kirkman-Bey of 142 West Elm Street, who was said to have been abducted from his home and taken where the 2 Jacksons and other members of the cult upon instructions from the defendant, Ira Johnson Bey. And I'm not going to read any further of that. That actually puts 2 pieces of it in perspective. I'm trying to think if there was a piece from here. I'm going to read the top part. Ira Johnson L., Compton Johnson Bey, Moses Jackson Bey, Eugene Jackson Bey, and Edward Mealy Ill, members of the Moorish Science Temple, indicted on October 9th for the murder of policemen Jesse Holtz and William Gallagher, who were scheduled to go on trial last Monday, but arraignment was postponed until December the 6th. And actually, I'm going to read that a quick piece to actually state, that they were all indicted, all parties that were alleged. And I'm going to read this final piece in. There's a lot of articles about this. Let me zoom out so you can see some of them. This one, Moors faced the loss of charter in Chicago. State Attorney Swanson seeks to break up order following death threats. Let me see something. Stamp out this tribe. These are articles that are microfilm. A lot of this stuff, like I said, we don't go over this in our Sunday school because this is not good for the business of uplifting fallen humanity. But there's no shame when we look into the details. There's no shame behind Brother Kirkman-Bey in this at all. Like I said, who gets kidnapped by Moors that went out of control in the manner that they did, comes out and serves 30 years, other than a bold soldier of the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Prophet said he needed strong men and women, and Brother Kirkman-Bey was a strong brother to be able to do that. And his wife was in there when they took him, and they both continued to soldier on for the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. There's a lot of articles, that kind of tell the same story. So I'm going to go into this particular part right here. This actually has an interesting piece about the size, the scope of this. This is not just no little case. This is a big case. I mean, not only because of the fact that these police were shot, but also the magnitude of the Moorish Science Temple of America. This reads, read the first 2 paragraphs. The courtroom of the 48th Street Station was packed to capacity Thursday morning when the inquest into the slaying was held by Coroner Herman N. Bundesen. The coroner's jury personally selected by Coroner Bundesen was significant in that it was composed of 6 of Chicago's most prominent businessmen. They were General John B. Clennon, chairman of the Illinois Boxing Commission, Attorney Nathan K. McGill, general counselor for the Chicago Defender, Alexander Flowers, president of the Roosevelt Bank, Edward Kravitz, manager of Walgreens drugstores, Dr. Harry Harris, and Homer Roberts of the Roberts Campbell Motor Company were the jury. So this was a really high profile case. Brother Serrano Bey, if you have that piece, you want to share that part about the beginning part of how this whole saga played out?
Islam, yes. All right. So we have this article where it says, early last September, the convention was held. Ira Johnson, right, referring to Ira Johnson Bey, did not attend any of the sessions, merely presided at all the meetings, being a member of the Grand Council and a noble Grand Sheik. Kirkman, right, Brother C. Kirkman-Bey, also took part. It was at the convention that Kirkman is alleged to have come into possession of those papers. And we have this article here, Moors face loss of charter in Chicago. And this is a piece from a book titled Moorish Unapologetics, which is written by another scholar, brother, I forget the brother's name, Richard Ill, I think the brother's name is. And this is from the Chicago Defender. And it reads, Drew Ali arrested. The headline reads, Drew Ali arrested as he sat with his wife and a group of followers celebrate. Authorities charged. The murder of his rival was defended by attorney Aaron Payne and William L. Dawson, members who later gained political prominence. After Prophet Noble Drew Ali's death, attorney Aaron Payne attempted unsuccessfully to hold the group together. Sheikh A. Payne Ill is the brother pictured leading the Prophet's funeral procession, wearing the apron and gloves. Right, the famous photo of the Prophet's funeral. Several of the Prophet's disciples announced that they alone were the rightful interior of Prophet Noble Drew Ali's leadership. Brother John Givensdale, formerly Noble Drew Ali's chauffeur, and Brother Ira Johnson Bey, who had been imported from Pittsburgh to assist in quelling the Green Revolt, each conceived the idea that the dead leader's spirit entered his body. Brother Johnson Bey, a man of action, invaded the office of Brother Mealy Ill, another aspirant, and demanded recognition as Grand Sheikh. When Brother Mealy Ill demurred and received a terrific mauling, Brother Johnson Bey then dispatched his henchmen to kidnap Kirkman-Bey, who claimed possession of Noble Drew Ali's last will and testament.
Wow. Thank you for putting that on the record. Let's keep moving. So the reason why we wanted to explain this story, because it makes the explanation that the brother needs, he don't need it because he's trying to create the confusion, but his viewers and those that may be confused by his shell game need is that this murder case made the leadership of Brother Mealy Ill obviously problematic. Islam, Brother Randall Bey?
Islam. I have another article that goes exactly with this, and I think you also showed the article. I wanted to take a reading from it.
Islam. Made it obviously problematic. If you're going to lead the Moorish Science Temple of America and you're either embroiled in the murder case of police officers or you got out of, and it's kind of mysterious. You can imagine some of the Moors thought it was mysterious that Brother Mealy Ill was back and wasn't charged, and the other Moors were facing death sentences and whatnot. It was, again, I'm not going to be very careful with my words, but it was problematic at least. I'm going to continue that point, Brother Sheikh, so you can read that article.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So this is an article. It says Moors face loss of charter in Chicago. And I just want to read this small piece. It says papers cause trouble. According to testament of witnesses, Kirkman and attorney Aaron H. Payne possessed valuable papers, which they refused to surrender. The papers Kirkman held were believed to be the last will and testament of the late Timothy Drew, the prophet of the cult, who died 2 months ago. The prophet's successor was named in the testament. It was believed, and Johnson wanted to get the document. Kirkman was holding the papers by virtue of fact that he had been named Grand Advisor at the convention held here the week of September 15th. And so there's a misunderstanding as to what those papers are. They believe, and it says believe, that it is the will and testament for the successor, but it wasn't. It was the papers for the leadership of the organization, which Brother C. Kirkman-Bey had received in 1929 during the Second Annual National Convention. And how do we know this? Those papers. Brother Mealy Ill refers to them as the prophet's credentials. And then he says that the office of Supreme Grand Advisor was for Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's what he said.
Islam, very good point. I was actually playing around with another file that I wanted to show. Very, very good point. And again, I wanted to be careful not to provide additional, like, I know this brother is going to want to kind of try to figure out how to keep this fire going, and I don't want to give him, any reason to, continue to discuss this stuff that is really it's a non-issue at this point. The fact was that you said Brother Kirkman-Bey had no credentials, and now, okay, that's put to rest. And you're trying to say these last little few things. He's still connected to Green Bay. The temples went to email. There was no elections. There was like the Senate. What's going on with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th convention, and so on, right? So based on this kidnapping story, the reality is the actual simple answer, and the truth is that he went so bad is that the Moors were very uncomfortable about selecting a leader who just got off a high-profile murder case, right? Indicted for the death of 2 police officers. That's just common sense. It's nothing bad against Brother Miliel because, again, the Moors, or whatever it is, it is. I don't see it necessarily as bad. I just see it as, the prophet came, the Moors, we got a little too excited. Things got out of control, and then now we're trying to bring it back together without losing it altogether. Sometimes you got to just cut your losses and say, it's unfortunate that things got out of control. We don't have the prophet for 70 years, 70, 80 years, but, we got to keep it together. But here you have brothers that are trying to use that as an excuse 97 years ago, or 90 years ago, and say we need to tear it all down and let me start it all over again. That's the logic that I'm talking about. Doesn't make no sense. It would be extremely irresponsible. It's irresponsible for him to say that. It would be insane for us to do it. So it was an issue with the leadership outside of what I explained about Brother C. Kirkman-Bey being very popular because he was traveling with the prophet. He spoke at the Pan American Conference, and he cranked a home run at the prophet's funeral when people were coming apart. It also boils down to Brother Miliel, unfortunately, had just got out of that case. I mean, we're talking 1929 and 1930 and 31. In those years where Brother Miliel was struggling to try to correct his so-called mistake, he just got out of a murder trial. You can imagine how long does something like that linger? Here's a photograph also someone pointed out that's very interesting, that makes you wonder about the state of mind of Brother Miliel after the prophet. When you think about the letter, Miliel was affidavit saying that the prophet said I was supposed to be the leader, and then Brother Kirkman-Bey was supposed to be the backup at best. Brother, I'm gonna credit Brother M. Young Bey pointed out the fact that Brother Miliel was sitting in the prophet's chair in this photograph. Brother Miliel was sitting in the prophet's chair. There's no other photograph of any other Moors sitting in the prophet's chair. Prophet's chair, by the way, sits in Temple number 9 in Chicago, Moors. I didn't know that. The brother was scolding me. Brother, praise Allah for Brother Young Bey breaking that down. And I want to try to make sure to get some of his points on the record as we get into Temple number 9, who the brother Taharka Bey is slandering, but Temple number 9 was the prophet's temple. I never thought about that. When the Moors gave him a hard time at Temple number 1, the whole Green Bay saga in his office, he took up residence at Temple 9 and was chairing out of Temple number 9. we're going to get the brother to break to kind of give us that history and the details around that history. He got, being born under Sister Tiggs Hill. That brother has some information. And he said, Brother Taharka Bey, you're not going to get away from Brother Young Bey. You need to let that Moor speak his mind too. Stop running from the truth. So that was problematic about the leadership. And then so now, when we get down to this question about the charters of conventions, let me pull my old deck up again real quick for a second. Stop sharing here, move this out of the way, and see if I can pull up my deck that we were looking at the prior presentation, which is in the first video. Where is it? I think I can't even find it. Let's see something here. Hang on 1 second, Moors. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th convention programs. You know what? Let me just leave it. I was trying to find that original photograph. Well, I'll leave this one on the screen. The photo that I showed in the first video that had, here it is here. That has Brother Miliel. Tell me if you can see that, Brother Serrano Bey. My stuff is going all over the place here. You see my screen share? This photo, this is the second annual national convention, and this is the photograph of Brother Miliel and Brother Kirkman-Bey toward the end of the convention. So the brother says that he shows 2 programs. Think in terms of shell gaming. right? You're trying to twist the truth to make falsehood right, you know, and it just doesn't really add up. You show a program for a convention that shows all of the temples, and they're all with Brother Emilio. You say Brother Emilio put this together, but you ain't show no picture. I know you ain't gonna be able to show minutes. There was a convention, and there are minutes. You don't have them. You never seen them. You didn't show a photograph to go with that program. Anybody could put a program together. Come on, brother. So if someone types something up and says, I got all the temples with me, and you expect for us to be able to believe that. That's your proof that all the temples were Brother Emilio. When in reality, what actually happened was there was no two Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated. There was one group. The Moors were all together. There was an internal struggle for power. Brother Emilio was internally struggling to correct the mistake, as we just said. So he's trying to, Brother Kirkman-Bey, understandably, is saying, okay, we're going through a rough patch here, Moors. We just need to everything calm down. Before he begins, remember Kirkman-Bey's history, I put it in the first video. Kirkman-Bey reestablishes Moorish Manufacturing Company. Brother C. Kirkman-Bey reestablishes the Moorish God. He reestablishes the certain temples. He eventually starts doing the parades and expanding the temples. But at the beginning, we gotta come back together and galvanize. Where Brother Kirkman-Bey wasn't really so much focused on, the convention. Brother Emilio was trying to lead the charge of the same group within the same organization in the same temples. But they both were in the convention together. So you can imagine if Brother Emilio is trying to galvanize the Moors and he's putting the cover together, he's putting himself as the leader because that's what he wants, and he's going to nix Brother Kirkman-Bey. Might not even show up in whatever programs. You could easily see that. But where's the photographs to match? What actually happened? Who actually showed up? You invite everybody, but who actually showed up? Where did the Moors actually stand? You missed that part of the information. If you want to convince me or anyone that's intelligent, you got to show me a little bit more than a piece of paper. Because in actuality, after speaking to the Moors that were, these are the Moors that know the history, that are in the Moor. You don't carry a card. You don't even know. You can't speak to half of these Moors. They don't know who you are. So, and the information that you may get is probably from a different perspective. But the Moors, they said there was a convention, there was an internal back and forth. But the Moors were working with Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. And there's your answer. In terms of how do you explain that? How do you explain the election? How do you explain that Brother Emilio, had all of the Moors together? Let me see you produce a photograph. Show me the minutes of those years, not a program. Don't try to play me and play us and show us a program and say this is everything that actually happened. After that, it's just your mouth. Show a photo. Brother Emilio, in actuality, Brother Emilio's power waned after that period because of the convictions and because of his inability to, he kind of sort of didn't really rise to the occasion at the funeral. Then, things get out of control and you had something to do with the kidnapping of one of the Moorish Americans, and, and you're on trial and you're out, kind of mysteriously out. The Moors kind of sort of were leaning towards Brother Kirkman-Bey as the stronger leader. It only makes sense. And by the time we get to 1934, in 35, those conventions, you see Emilio's conventions where he actually separates from the Moorish Science Temple of America. They're very, very small and very low participation, even on the programs. So that actually explains that. We actually went over already the court cases. So I want to go into this theory about Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. Now you're going for a long shot because you got nothing so far. Everything that you just threw, it don't make no sense. It doesn't stick when in light of actual facts. Why didn't you show all the information about this case, this kidnapping case? What happened with that? All the research that you were doing, you kind of tiptoed around that whole fiasco. I wonder what happened with that. But so then you try to do a Hail Mary and tie Brother Kirkman-Bey still to Brother Claude Green Bey. And let me see if I can do this. I was working on this last slide and I really didn't get a chance to finish it because I ran out of time. I'm gonna go, let's see if I can share this page from my Illustrator. Can you see that, Brother Sheik? You able to see that?
Islam, yes.
Okay, so this actually was a chart that I started to put together. This first block here represents, this is 1929. Let me, I can't do nothing with it now. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. This is the year 1929. So here around about March, Brother Claude Green-Bey's has that situation, the unfortunate demise in Unity Hall, second floor. And so Brother Taharka Bey's claim is that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey's connection to Brother Claude Green-Bey, based on his theory, there's a difference between theory and a fact. This is a crazy theory too, is that Kirkman-Bey ends up with some paperwork that the Moors want really badly that has something to do with the authority for the corporation that the courts are honoring and blah, 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 blah. How did he get that paper? How did he get the paper? Couldn't have been the election and you received the, the documentation because you were duly elected, and this, which is the process. If you get elected in the local temple as a grand sheikh, for example, right? The sheiks go to the bank and they sign over all of the credentials, get signed over to that grand sheikh. It's, transfer of power from the prior grand sheikh to the former grand sheikh, all of the authority of that particular temple. Well, the Moorish Science Temple of America is the same. So after the election, common sense would say that Brother Kirkman-Bey could have gotten whatever documentation that held authority, the filings, the seals, whatever it was, because he was elected. That's the common sense way. This brother says the only way that he could have gotten it was through the Supreme Grand Business Advisor, who, remember, when the Prophet was still around, before the Prophet was even jammed up. Brother Green-Bey, remember, he stepped down. They politely stepped down. So he had to turn all that stuff over to the Prophet. He didn't even have it. He must have, the only way that Kirkman-Bey got it must have been Green-Bey, because Green-Bey was the only person that had it. What kind of a childish, crazy, wacko theory is that? So, and that actually is a span of 7 months. So Brother Kirkman-Bey had the paperwork for 7 months after, somehow at least 7 months from the time of Brother Green-Bey's passing. And this second block represents when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali made his transition on authority, July 20th, 1929, right? So there was actually 4 months between Green-Bey and the Prophet's transition. So during that whole time, the Prophet wouldn't have been looking around like, hey, where's my stuff at? Where's my documentation at? And Brother Kirkman-Bey has it. And then you have 2 months between when the Prophet passed and in the convention, where Brother Kirkman-Bey actually, officially and lawfully gets the, let me move these things out of the way. I was going to actually put the names, this would be the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This is the elections. So this is your connection to Brother Kirkman-Bey. This is the crazy patchwork way you're going to patch Brother C. Kirkman-Bey to Brother Emeli El by saying that that's the only possible way that he could have gotten it, and that is the connection. Now you're guilty. That is pretty crazy, Brother Serrano Bey.
Islam. When we talk about scholarly information and citing our sources,
exactly.
Is one thing where it's like, there's different instances where you can make a judgment based off of common sense, right? But you can't just put a theory out there and then verbalize it as if it's an actual fact.
Right.
There's nothing scholarly about that at all in any form of academia.
Right. I'm gonna get into the whole thing about the Brother Taharka Bey's so-called scholarship. I don't want to get too far out of pocket, but one thing I will I was going to say that to speak to that. The brother said at one point in his video, let me see if I can find out where he said it at, that something about how grand sheiks are made, the process. 147. Let me play this real quick. And the part that is to me is interesting is, brother, you're not a card holding member. You've never properly been. Are you a sheik? I don't forget about grand sheik. You're not a sheik. How do you become a sheik in one organization, leave that organization, and you just carry your sheikhood into every other organization? That's not how that works. This part was in He makes this point 147. And this shows the logic of somebody who we're gonna get into what's really going on, what's really good with Brother Taharka Bey. We're gonna get into that part because like I said, whenever I'm dealing with someone, I try to diagnose as much as I can so I know who I'm dealing with, how to speak. Something's up with him. Let me just play what he did though first, what he said.
Certificate, I would imagine, with some type of credentials, but it was an honorary one. In other words, he didn't go through the process. He didn't go through like, for instance, when you become an adept in the Moorish Science Temple of America, there's a process for that. When you become a Grand Sheik, there's a process. He didn't go through no process.
How in the world would you know the process for becoming a Grand Sheik and you're not a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America? You were never made a Grand Sheik anywhere. Even with whoever, when you first got your card, I believe it was Brother Sample Bey where he first became a member. And then the other Moors, I promised, I told myself I wasn't going to name, where you were made a sheik. I think Brother Bailey Ill, he claims Brother Bailey Ill made him a sheik, but then you left Bailey Ill and you were with someone else. And then, around about 2016, that other person, the leader that you were under, told you to come down off that platform that you created, and you didn't want to do it. You flew off of this platform. And then you fell out with them. So you're no longer a member since 2017, I believe, early 2017. What do you know about the process of becoming a sheik? That's that slick talk again. Oh, there's a process to become a sheik. There's a process to become a Grand Sheik. You don't know what it is because you never went through it. So now you're trying to say what the process is for Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. This speaks to what you were saying about that scholarship that he actually has is an interesting it's an interesting type of frame of mind that he actually comes from. I believe, let me say this too. Is it just me? I'm just going to throw this point out there. This is one that's been burning. Brother Taharka Bey is interesting in the fact that he does a lot of mimicking. The brother is a strange mimicker. I remember when you were saying first, hey, he's copying my logos. I noticed that he'll take words, use a word, certain words, grifter. As soon as I said grifter, look, this is for later. I'm not even going to all this now. I used the word grifter in my first part one. This brother's using grifter all over the place immediately after. I remember rhetorical. He got rhetorical from me. The demonstration he gave, this is, again, a point for another time. He gives a demonstration in his part two talking about power, economic power and political power coming out of unity. Brother Serrano Bey, this brother jacked me for my own message, which we were on it. Temple 34 was on the national platform. Whoever wants to do the math on that, I'll do it later if we had to take this any further. In early March, we were honored to be on the media platform, and our Friday Holy Day went out. And that was my whole point on that message, was that what we need to demonstrate is power, which comes from unity. And when you have unity, you have economic and political power. This brother shamelessly just regurgitated my whole this whole thought. I think he's done it to Brother. I think Brother Way L kept saying the more is a copycat. He tries to carry himself like Brother S.N.I.L. Bey, Brother Sharif, as a scholar and with slides. And I got my slides, and you can get the whole slides if you come to the presentation. That's a direct copy of what Brother N.I.L. Bey did. Or you're trying to be Brother N.I.L. Bey by being a researcher, scholar, which he's not. So anyway, I digress. I'm sorry for jumping off the topic, Brother Serrano Bey. Very good point. I don't know if you wanted to say something to that real quick before we keep it moving.
I'm gonna just hold my words. Praise Allah.
So yeah, he tries to make this connection to Brother Carl Green Bey, but it's just a theory, and you can't make a theory into a you can't make a theory into an actual be an actual fact. A theory is what a theory is. It's a long shot theory. There is no connection with Brother C. Kirkman-Bey and Brother Claude Green Bey's faction. It's not. And your little crazy theory is not one. So I want to go real quickly to some of his remaining claims. And these I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because these are the small ones. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a 501c3, Brother Serrano Bey. That's what he says. It is. It's not. 501c3 did not exist during the time that the Prophet Noble Jew Ali incorporated the Moorish Science Temple of America, November 29th, 1926. That's actually a lie. Islam.
Also, hypothetically speaking, if you want to say that Brother C. Kirkman-Bey started his own organization in 1934 using the rules and regulations of the Moorish Science of America. Even in 1934, 501c3 didn't exist.
Islam, praise Allah. I'm looking for my other deck here again. I got the wrong one up. He said that they don't use Heard's revised statutes. For whoever caught that, the Moorish Science Temple of America Inc., we don't go by Heard's revised statute, which is on the back of the Prophet's questionnaire. He said, I don't understand why he even mentioned that. When I made in the first video, I made the point about the election is duly, it's in compliance with Heard's revised statute. He's like, I don't know, we don't use it, and I don't know why he said that. That's a flat lie. That's, it's I don't even know how to describe that. He basically really shouldn't have mentioned it at all. But he said, we already went over Brother Emily Ill's affidavit. And you already went over Brother C. Kirkman-Bey's supposed honorary credentials. I want to show. I just went over. He said there's a certain process to become a Grand Sheik and Grand Sheik and Divine Minister. All right, and then we cleared that up. He said, Brother C. Kirkman-Bey made the Moorish Science Temple of America a Masonic order. What do you think about that, Brother Serrano Bey?
Islam. If you have me on Facebook, if you don't have me on Facebook, you can find it on my Facebook. I compiled at least 4 members of the Moorish Science Temple of America while Prophet Noble Drew Ali was alive that wore the cape that the brother mentioned as a Shriner's elements, as the brother said, quote unquote. And he also said that it was introduced to the Moors by Brother C. Kirkman-Bey, and it is simply not true at all. We have photos of Brother T. Crumby-Bey, who was in direct disagreement with Brother C. Kirkman-Bey and is seen wearing a cape during the first annual National Convention.
Islam. He's showing pictures of the badges and the blue fez. He's just, like I said, he reminds me of, and when we get into this part about the research, being a researcher and not being a researcher, he's like, he's just playing in these records. He looks up Masonic things. You found a blue and a yellow fez. You putting the Prophet's pen next to it and saying, aha, this makes y'all Masonic. Moorish Science Temple of America, straight facts, is in no way connected to a Masonic lodge. We don't do anything in a Masonic manner. All of our meetings are open to the public. You can take out an application to become a member or not, or you could we have people that have been in Temple 34 for years, right, Brother Serrano Bey, that are just visitors. It's just nothing Masonic. Matter of fact, Brother Cyrus said, I've always had a big problem with the lodges in general. I learned through being a member over the years to kind of take it easy, because my family history with Masonry is just not a good one. My father did some battle, and so as soon as I came into the movement, were trying to get me to join, and I would not join a Masonic lodge. So Islam.
When the brothers spoke about Brother C. Kirkman-Bey's fez, and one of them read Sultan, one of them read Allah, and one thing that he did tell the truth about was that it was a decorative fez, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no Masonic order called Allah or Sultan. And with the Sultan, it refers to question number 34 in the Quran questions for Moorish Americans. And the thing about it is, he tries to use the oral statements and prophecies that was comprised by Brother Arlov Ill to condemn Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. But Brother Arlov Ill is in the succession of Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. And so in one breath, you want to say, whoever was with Brother C. Kirkman-Bey is a co-conspirator. But then in the next breath, you want to use elements and documentation that was comprised by Brother Arlov Ill to condemn Brother C. Kirkman-Bey. That's another form of hypocrisy.
Right.
Again.
Right. Yeah, I notice he uses a lot of circular logic. And again, it's just this fact that we just passed the 2-hour point, and I'm trying to wrap this up as much as possible, is just because he's just machine gunning out all of this falsehood. But I want to make sure to speak to each one as much as possible. So yeah, the Moorish Science Temple of America is a Masonic order. Show proof of that, other than pictures that you're Googling off of the internet, or colors of the charms that the Sheik charm or something like that. He also said that Brother Kirkman-Bey had a lot of audacity in speaking against Brother E. Millie Ill, but when you see in light of the court case and having been kidnapped and sitting in trial knowing that the brother sent someone to kidnap you, it makes a little sense, you know. So his point is misleading. I'm gonna play another video. He says that well, we don't have to actually. He actually said, I should play the video where he says it. I'm going to. He says that Brother E. Millie Ill lost in court every time until 1935. Let me play that part. 232. And the reason why I'm playing this is because we just showed that he did. And the brother is standing on like it's a lot, like it's actually, you know, telling the truth, because he's unfortunately, he lies a lot. I'm gonna just start off by that. There's an unusual amount of lying going on. 232. Here for your own, you can hear with your own 2 ears. Actually, hold on, I gotta cut the volume up a little bit. Let me bring it right up to the part. Lost, but we just showed in 1933, we showed the receipts. But here's his scholarship.
He lost the court date until E. Millie Ill passed form.
Let me play that back a little bit so you can get the whole thing.
One last question that I need to pose to everybody that I was about to pose, and then I'm out of here. If in fact, E. Millie Ill was appointed by the prophet, multiple court dates, right? Multiple court dates that Kirkman-Bey tried to take E. Millie Ill to court. He tried to take E. Millie Ill to court and prove that he was the head of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Every time he went, he lost the court date until E. Millie Ill passed form. But now the question would be, why would he be so bold to take him to court? No.
He says on that clip, you can listen for it. I don't know if he said it right there. He said up until 1935, the brother is either lying or very badly informed. And I believe he's not badly informed. I think he's just lying right there. He also says the Prophet Noble Drew Ali took the Moorish Science Temple of America out of the Secretary of State. How did Brother C. Kirkman-Bey get control? I'm not even going to play that video back. He says, oh, man, listen to this bold-faced lie. He says one of the reasons why he needs to do what he was doing, because we're not doing anything at all. And in his description, right? So in the first video, one of the things that I showed, because for me, if this is about character, this is about principle, and we leave our footprints pretty clearly cut, and thought is the cause of all of our thoughts, words, and deeds, right? Words and deeds. When this brother betrayed Brother A. Hopkins Bey, I made a point about that in the first video. It really kind of, to me, it's a very disturbing sign. Listen to his explanation of it, and I'm gonna see if you catch it, Brother Sheik. Where's the lie in this? It's a blatant lie in this. This is in the first 10 minutes, 10:58. Listen to what he says right here. This is your response for betraying your brother who backed you up and was trying to support you. Although, as I said in the first video, he knows it. He could tell that you were messy. He was trying to help you, and this is how you treat him back. This is his explanation for betraying Brother Hopkins Bey. Listen to this.
Another thing I want to mention is Brother Grand Sheik Azim Hopkins Bey from Philadelphia. I used to go to that brother for counsel. You know what I'm saying? Because the movement was so, when I say the movement, what we call the Moorish Science Temple of America, with all of these factions, it seems so out of whack. And so I used to go up there, talk to the brother. Long story short, over time, I begin to see that no one seems to be evolving in the direction of the Prophet's program.
What?
That's just my opinion.
Whoa.
But I can show it and back it up.
Really?
I don't care how much I like somebody. I don't care how much I'm cool with somebody. If I feel as though that it's counterproductive intellectually, spiritually, and every other aspect of life that could advance myself, I'm getting away from you. What? That's just what it is.
Okay, so what's odd about that, Brother Serrano Bey? I'll just say it. He says, Brother Hopkins, no one is doing anything productive. Brother Hopkins Bey is extremely progressive and productive. They just purchased a whole big new temple down there in Philadelphia on Fisher Street, Fisher's Avenue. Brother Hopkins Bey got a music ministry and musicians and businesses coming out. They bought a restaurant down there. He's the assistant grand sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America. His entire family's in the temple. He's a legacy member, born in the temple. What in the world are you talking about?
Islam.
Islam.
Food pantry.
Come on.
He does annually. He does a basketball tournament to stop gun violence in Philadelphia.
Shoot hoops, not guns.
You know,
that was his explanation for betrayal, which for me was like a mind fart in a sense that it was like you really didn't explain it, and then you turn around and like you insulted our intelligence by trying to insult what he's doing down there doing. You know, he's a powerful family. He's raised his daughters. Temple 11 is one of the most progressive and growing temples. In the meantime, now let's juxtapose that to what Brother Taharka Bey is doing. And I'm not going to go, I told myself I'm not going to go into I'm going to stay right on the movement. I'm going to save the part about what's going on with his temples and with your leaders. And you're going through leaders like it's nobody's business and people are missing. Like, where's everybody? I'm not going to even go into that this time. I'm going to save some in case we got to continue to kind of slow walk the situation. You know, it's going to get worse, you know, but with that, I'm going to segue into Brother Taharka Bey. If you didn't have any other points, Brother Serrano Bey, Brother Taharka Bey's contradictions, lies, and his personal credibility. As we try to wind this down. Go ahead, you want to say something?
Islam, I have so many other notes and sources of information to, you know, expound on different points that the brother makes. I just want to say, you know, when you think about the concept of cutting your nose to spite your face, it's like, I don't have any personal vendetta with anyone, but it's like if you're creating a narrative to now make us feel uncomfortable with being who we are and what we are a part of, I'm not gonna allow any of our members to feel bullied, cyberbullied, to feel uncomfortable, any kind of way. I'm not. No.
That's a fact.
That's a piece.
That's a fact. So I'm gonna go into this. Let me stop sharing this for a minute. And you're right. You know, I have a very low tolerance as well. Like you know, that's where I draw the line at. I wouldn't be a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America if I wasn't aggressively for the truth at all times, at all costs. I'm gonna share this assessment of the you know what we're witnessing. What's really going on here in terms of Brother Taharka Bey, right? And in order to do that, I gotta call a spade like a spade. And you got one thing when someone lies, and we can go over the list of his lies, but I'm gonna jump right to the case and say you have someone that just lies, just on a scale from a liar, a pathological liar, and a sociopath. And I'm looking at Brother Taharka Bey from the last few months. Remember, I've been watching him for a couple of years. I took a couple steps back, and you know, but I've been watching him with a tiger's eyes. You know, as I'm looking at this brother standing next to me, and he started to move a certain way, and got my hair standing up, and I'm like, I'm watching him I went from watching him with eagle eyes, now I got tiger's eyes on him. I've been watching him with eagle eyes from a close distance from the time I met him. No, that's the time I met him. When he started to fall out with different members, you know, you're going to attack brother, I think it was Brother D-Way-L, aka Lord Abba. You turn around and he accosted Brother Grimion Ill, and he lost me on that. Like the way he did it, I had, you know, and I switched to eagle eyes and looking at him really closely and watching him trying to pull cards on people and figure out how he could get fouls on people. And when he started to move 3 years ago on the leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and we crossed that red line for me, and where I told him kick rocks. And one of the, you know, this brother, this is why I told him kick rocks. I'm gonna come back to that later. You violating your brothers in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I switched to tiger's eyes. I'm looking at this man, and I see a sociopath. A pathological liar is one thing, but a sociopath, when you do things like You are against the prophet. You created a platform and supposedly for the Moorish Science Temple of America to attack the Moorish Science Temple of America and lie in aggressively. You could create a war with the Asiatics right now. We are here. This, like I said, this is the Moorish Science Temple of America represents the soul of a nation. This is our only chance. There's but one way that we're going to be recognized, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, which was incorporated in this government, the Moorish Science Temple of America. And you're going to go start wars with other organizations when the prophet said we're not supposed to speak radical? Why? With no leadership whatsoever behind you because you think you can get away with it? That's reckless. You're going to start a war between the Asiatics at this time. This table is set for the Moors to emerge. And you running around trying to pit a fight. Why are you doing that? Crazy. Let's go look into the definition of sociopath, right? I'm going to put that on the screen. Pathological liar, I'm going to put that on the screen. The brother matches the definitions. What's really going on here is my point. What is Taharka Bey? What is behind his actions? So I wanted to go over this list. The brother said he actually, in one of his statements, he actually said that he was like Jesus. Let's see if I got that one on here. 239:19. Before I go into this list of lies, right? And these are part of. Let me read the lies, and then I'll read the statement where he said 239:19. Let me stop sharing just for a split second. Wow, who says they're like Jesus and Muhammad? And you don't have a card. You got charters taped to your wall, and you're talking across the nation. You're like Jesus. 239. Let me pull this up real fast. Listen to this. What are we dealing with right here in reality? And Moors, we got to be wise. We can't just let people walking around, flying around with a platform, trying to start a war with the Moors on behalf of the Moors ain't even with us.
Did. From research, we look at how the movement is supposed to be. From research, we look at
Let me catch that.
Temple of America, affectionately known as the Noble Temple. In our administration, what we strive to do is do exactly what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali did. From research, we look at how the movement is supposed to be. From research, we look at how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. From research, we move on those principles. That's it. Even what I'm doing right now is consistent with Jesus did. It's consistent with Muhammad did. It's consistent with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali did.
There's more here. That's not normal. I'm gonna play another one. I'm gonna go as I go on this list of the lies. The first lie, one of the big lies that he said is that he said Moorish World TV, the platform that he's on, did not start in 2006. And he played that onto the record. 645. And that's a blatant lie. More like, what, really? And you telling it with enthusiasm and all this other stuff? Like it's like some Vladimir Zelensky was the guy's name, the actor from Ukraine. 640, I think it was 645. And you did make this platform, and you did feed off of the Moors, but he lies right through his teeth, left and right.
Come back in a minute, okay? I just gotta get the flow on. You come back in 1 second. So, one of the things that the brother said, it was strange to me that he even said this. He said, you know, when Taharka Bey just came out of nowhere, you know, he showed up to New York and something. And he was very disingenuous. He said, I showed up at the debate, and then I used the debate from Sharif Adnail Bey, which I know he's watching now, that I used the debate of Sharif Adnail Bey to kick off my Moorish World TV platform. Now, anybody that been watching Moorish World TV know that that's a lie. If anybody gets credit for me kicking off my Moorish World TV platform, it would be me going up on 125th and standing out there talking, debating on 125th.
Which was after the debate. And look up all of these things. He went up and rode the wave of when the Moors won, and that war was over. And you had people that were in line, and he went and jumped in the line and started chopping people down that were trying to challenge, but it was over. That was after the debate. That's real kind of slick, but those who know, you're talking about after you appeared after the debate. That in itself is really strange.
Fifth, and people begin to ask about me, and I already had a channel.
I
already had.
But let's go real quick. I'm gonna kind of move through these points. Well, not quick. I'm gonna take my time enough that we can be clear. So I meant to keep that shared. So here's his channel. This is Moorish World TV. This is channel 7. Let me see if I can find the. We're not talking about 7 because 7 he started recently. Maybe let me put this on videos. The latest Moorish World TV is only a couple of years ago, right? 2 years, right? But when you go to Moorish World, see if I can still get Moorish World, or did I go back too far? Moorish World TV, right? You look at these videos and we go to put them in order of chronology, and you go down. He said it didn't start in 2016, but it did. 6 years ago. Show me videos. Show me if you're not lying. Show me videos beyond 2016, Brother Serrano Bey.
Islam, can you click about on the top right of the channel?
About. Yeah. Oh wow, you're a smart man. Let me see something. Does it say this? Wow. It didn't start in 2016. You're lying through your teeth. You started in 2016. We remember that's your history. You came up to the I'm not pulling up all of the pictures of the debate. You popped up there. I could pull up, Brother Serrano Bey. I meant to pull up pictures of the Moors that were at the debate were where in the morning of the debate. They came to Temple 34. I'm not even going through all of that. The fact is, there were photographs that everyone met, Brother Untitled Bey and Brother Tunica Ill. I think Brother Monty McCoy Ill was there. Sister Hopkins Bey. We had to have our Sunday school instead of 2 o'clock. What time did we have it that day, Brother Serrano Bey? You were there. It was you had to stay at Sunday school because we had to go up. Remember, the debates always happen on Sundays and at 2 o'clock during Sunday school. So we had a meeting. All of the people that were at the debate were inside of Temple 34. The Hopkins Beys, Brother Chisholm Ill, all of them. Ali Bey. I think Ali Bey was in 34 that morning. I believe Ali Bey. And this more just popped up out of nowhere. The reason why we were there is because we were part of the planning. But yeah, you started in 2016, so you're lying. So let's go back and let's look at the spectrum of, let's look at the list of the lies. Let's kind of keep track, because somebody lie in your face, you don't just let somebody lie and be around you. You got to keep track of that, figure out what it is, and you better defend yourself if you're wise, right? The Quran says when you suspect evil, suspect not evil until you see it. And when you see it, what do you got to do, Brother Serrano Bey? Forget it not.
Forget it not.
Get it not. Taharka Bey's lies listed. My platform did not start in 2016 after the Harlem debate. That's a lie. 2, most of the temples on the back of the Moorish guides are fake. All of these temples right here, these are all fakes. Show me how's that work? Where's our temple? He's talking about the temple locator. All of these 42 temples are all fake. Which ones though?
Islam,
Brother Serrano Bey.
Islam. His reasoning was that he Googled some of the temples and he found like hotels were at some of the addresses, but not even realizing that they were renting out spaces in that hotel. And I can't remember which temples it was exactly, but I remember coming across that information. They were holding meetings. They still currently hold meetings. I don't know if it's still at, that hotel particularly, but our locator gets updated every time something changes.
I've never even heard of that, but yeah, that would make sense, potentially, but because you're a member and you're a real sheikh, you go to a convention, you actually hear the business, and you hear the Prophet used to list the business of each of the temples from the first convention in the Moorish Guide. we would know if there was temples that were in operation. We got to sit there and listen to everyone. Brother Cyrus Hill avoided the debate. That was the first lie. I caught him out there. Caught him on, caught the lights on him on it. You know what I mean? That's in the first video. He's clearly lying right through his teeth. Another lie. The Moorish Science Temple of America was changed to a Masonic order. You brother, where are you coming from with this stuff? I'm a Grand Sheik of a chartered Moorish Science Temple of America with 5 different charters from Kinko's hanging on your wall and everything else. Explain all those 5 charters then. You don't have a nationality card, Moor. You calling yourself a Supreme Grand Sheik. That's a lie. Brother Kirkman-Bey stabbed the prophet. This was a lie. You said this a couple of years. You stopped saying that. But a year and a half ago, and those on that platform heard him say it. Brother stabbed the prophet. Brother Kirkman-Bey stabbed the prophet. Another lie. Brother C. Kirkman-Bey was a part of Clark Green Bay's faction. That's a lie. And you have no proof. You are a pathological liar. You're a pathological liar. So I wanted to show this. And this is deep. They're talking about, oh, the truth hurts. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. And the reason why I'm showing it is because this actually has to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America. So it's on topic. This is not coming at you personally. This is exposing what we're dealing with here. This, the brother actually has, let me see if I can do this now. How do I get to, oh man, I know I got to unshare, go into my Chrome, pull up the clip that I wanted to show, come back to Zoom and share it. Now, this brother been attacking these other platforms, and these Moors are out, Asiatics are out here going in on Brother Taharka Bey, and they are digging up stuff that I'm going to try to avoid it. I don't want to go into any of this personal, this stuff gets ugly. But if he want to slow walk and keep going back and forth, then I got no choice. You know what I mean? My scimitar is still sheathed. I'm just talking about the temple and whatnot. But this right here is relevant. This bit of bad information. There's a lot of horrible information. I think we are witnessing our brother having a meltdown real time on this same platform, which is, what happens when you're playing around with something like the Moorish Science Temple of America. You wanted to be on the platform. Now you're up there. I bet he wants off of there now. Part of him is probably torn, but so you don't have membership. You got fake charters. You're working out of a temple or a studio. I don't know. It's like a puppet show. The background changes so often, more often than a puppet show. This is the reality. One of the people that are actually trying to figure out who he is presented, and I found very interesting. I'm gonna play this on the record. You know what I mean? You say you the Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America, but really you're just a pathological liar. Let me see if I can get this.
That yeah, that Moorish World TV studios is popping. Yes. All right. Now this is him standing in front, right? You would think, oh, don't look that bad, It ain't. But this is the person that's sitting in front of him, listening to him. What the hell is he? Where's the congregation? Where's the people for the studio? Where's the production team? What the hell? This is just a year. What the hell is this? Somebody shoe down there on the floor. What the hell, Taharka? Look at this. And this is where y'all ordered the t-shirts from him? Let him shake it. Make sure ain't no roaches in them damn t-shirts.
She curves right there, so I'm gonna clip that.
Just got it all kinds of places. Just so disrespectful. God, dog.
Well, this is how you represent the Moorish Science Temple of America? Seriously? This brother is this is a dangerous, in my opinion, it's a dangerous situation. And Brother Taharka Bey, this is for those that are watching, the Moorish World platform. This brother it's a bad source for information. But Taharka Bey is not a scholar in any way. He cited 2 books. He cited 2 books in the presentation that he did. One of them was that Dorman book. I don't want to say this author's whole name, and the book's titled The P and the P, which is a very disgraceful depiction of the Moorish Science Temple of America and very slanderous to the prophet. as you know, and he starts going into all of this information about Rosenthal and Samuel Insull, as if, you know, oh, the brother doesn't know about this, where we got, I know exactly where you got that from. You know, you're no scholar. I have a book, there's books like the Maccabean Files, I think the second Maccabean Files, and there's a couple of people that actually have bootlegged the Maccabean Files, where all kind of Moorish documentation is available for any serious Moorish American that ran across it. It's not hard to find. You know, that doesn't make you an authority on Moorish science. Let me show you our book list in Temple 34. You know, and I'm not saying that I'm, you know, I actually, again, giving honors to those, I'm going to give honors to those that actually go very hard. And you know, I'm going to be, you know, give credit to those that have spent time in gathering information about the Moorish Divine and National Movement. But at Temple 34, this is what a book, I've never heard this brother give, drop books at all. Any book names, you know what I mean? At Temple 34, we got a book list. It's like 120 books, 110, 120 books that all the members of Temple 34 have. You know, you're a scholar. You don't even name books. I never got a good book reference from you. I don't remember getting a book reference from you ever. You're not a scholar. You know, this is our book list here at Temple 34. For those that are interested, and if you really want to learn about the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Divine and National Movement, you need to come into the Moorish Science Temple of America. Talk about progressive and not progressive. This brother, you're not doing anything at all except for causing, your legacy is causing a lot of drama. I said it before, right? You know, and we do have the true researchers and the scholars, Moors, brothers and sisters. If you want to follow somebody and you're not, you know, you're still not ready to join or come visit the Moorish Science Temple of America, the brothers that you need to look to, some examples of actual researchers, our top. Brother Serrano Bey is a researcher. I strive to gather as much. Now, I'm a Grand Sheikh, so I better make sure I'm gathering information and sharing information with the members. But the best researchers in the Moorish Divine and National Movement are brothers like Brother A. Hopkins Bey, the Assistant Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America we were just talking about, and the Grand Sheikh of Philadelphia, Temple number 11. Amazing research. Brother Ali Bey, more that I actually met through Brother Sharif and Al Bey working with the debate. This brother here is amazing. He's one of the most insane, aggressive researchers I've ever run across. High honors to you, Brother Ali Bey, if you ever get a chance, if you ever hear this video. Ali Bey is a researcher. Brother D. L, right? AKA Brother Lord Abba, who was won the second debate in Harlem against Ali. Was it Ali Muhammad that he debated against? Brother Way Ill is a serious researcher. Not you. You are playing around and you're not even sincere. You know, how can you be a researcher? You're not even sincere. You don't even tell, you're a liar. Why would you gather information from a liar? I meant to say first, I meant to put on the top of this list of researchers, some of our best researchers. I wanted to start with Sister D. Warner Bey, the Grand Sheikh of Temple number 57 in Lockport, Illinois. These are a few. Those are the top researchers in my book. And now scholars, which scholar means somebody that a researcher is gathering and knows the history and has the files and has archives. A scholar is somebody who's read a lot of books and does a ton of research. Which you're not. You actually ruined a relationship with one of what I on the top of my list. I have brothers, I think it's Z, Gremion L, who's in that same camp with Brother D-Way L and Brother Ali Bey. Brother Z, Gremion L, salute to you more. I never met you in person, but I've been on phone conferences. We worked together, I talked to you a couple times on the phone, and we were in Ali's Men together. First time I ran across him was on a Way L presentation. Brother Gremion L was a super scholar, one of our best. And you violated him, for what reason? I don't know. Brother S.N.I.L. Bey is a scholar, more. Brother N.I.L. Bey. These are members of the Moorish Science Temple of America who are scholars. Brother Asir, the third one I will reference, Asir Cordoba, or they call him Asir the Ducateers, who years ago I ran across him. He's from Brooklyn, I believe. Now he's out of Miami, on the Super Heru Radio. Then it was Super Heru Sunday School, and now he's continued his YouTube channel. These are scholars, more. These are a lot of the books on my book list. I'll be honest with you, come from them, or internally. I'm gonna give credit to Brother Taharka Bey, the past Grand Governor of the state of New York. These are scholars inside of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'd be at a loss if I didn't mention Brother W. Clendenin-Bey. Gave me many books, and one of the best book I've ever read came from my former Grand Sheik. Or Brother C. Ferguson L., our chairman, also one of the best books I've ever read. Brother Clendenin-Bey introduced me to that book, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, by Bear T. Spalding. And Brother Ferguson L. gave me a book called The Path of The Secret Path. I forget the name of the author, actually, without pulling it up. More, you're not no research. You are mimicking Brother Untitled Bey since 2016. About 2018, when they abandoned you, you began to try to be the scholar because you couldn't get anyone to come on your platform that were scholars. And then I want to end by discussing the evolution of this Moorish World TV platform, which we started in 2016. And ironically, I'm gonna leave this list up here. These are the list of the lives. Ironically, it went from being abandoned to now it's failing. It's now failing. As a matter of fact, let's go back onto that page. See if I can get that to come up. So you can actually see it when you look at the, see if I go back. See if that comes up for me. Moorish World TV 7. No, I gotta go forward. When it started in 2006, see if I can do a search. Are you seeing the correct page, Brother Serrano Bey, this channel?
So,
all right. When you look at the bottom of this, so I'm going to the page and I'm gonna hit videos, put them in chronological order. This is the interesting part. When that's the wrong one. It's actually Moorish World TV. Almost lost my train of thought here. So you go to Moorish World TV, click on videos, and then you put them in order. And look at what happens. Ironically, the way that this platform evolved. And again, you wasn't even supposed to have it in the first place. It's like you became like a super villain when your leadership in 2016 said, hey, climb down off of that platform. You're not qualified to even speak for the Moorish Science Temple of America, and our portion. You're not an official to that level. And instead of listening to your leadership, you flew away with it. And you began to do what happens here as you look. It evolved from being purely about the Moorish Science Temple of America. You look at views, 700 views, 400 views, right? You got 5,000 views when you're talking about another group and Brother Untitled Bey is on. You get more views. Other than that, it's 300 views, 1,000 views, because you're talking about Brother Polite. You got a little bit of a bump. 3.6 views talking about Sonetta, he was feeding off at the beginning, talking about Sonetta's platform, and he was stealing viewership from Sonetta. But mostly about Moorish Science Temple of America. You started off, these are mostly attacks on those that are defense of the prophet, those that were trying to come at the Moorish Science Temple of America. You were doing a noble thing. That's why I could rock with you. And you were basically silencing their falsehood in the name of the prophet in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And then you would try to mix it in with stuff that was just generally Moorish, right? But what happened when you ran out of people that were attacking the platform, you ran out of subject matter. Continues on, your views are still about 1 or 2,000. You know what I mean? This is a year later, a year into the platform. Unless you could get Brother Untitled Bey on, and after a while, but the Untitled Beys and the A. Hopkins Beys or Ali's Men and what like that wasn't coming on your platform because it started to get a little weird, right? But you're still talking about Moorish science as much as you can, all of the actual Moorish world topics, right? Different things that you were featuring at the different times. But your views are still stuck at about 2,000-3,000 views per. This is where you attack Grimion Ill. Ironically, you got 89,000 views. I don't even know how that works. You got my song on here, a song I recorded called Greatest Secret, and then you attacking my brother Grimion Ill. Somehow this is an anomaly. You get a lot of views there. Other than that, it's 1,000, less than 1,000 views or so, 2,000-3,000 views. Brother Hopkins Bey was garnering views. After a while, I noticed that it was during the pandemic in 2020. You're trying to figure out how to get your topics above these numbers here. You did an attack during the in 2020. You started posting about George Floyd. You did an attack on this brother from the Nation of Islam, right? Malik Zulu Shabazz, New Black Panther Party, and your views jumped a little bit. And you realize that if you attack people outside of Moorish World, your viewership actually is a little stronger. And then you attacked, he was the first target that you used to kind of boost your platform a little bit. Then it was other people. You know, you started, every time you attack, your numbers started to bump a little bit, right? And this is what you transformed the platform into. But it was a dangerous move because now what are you doing? You're no longer teaching more science. There's a big difference between this and what you were doing earlier. You're actually, you should have changed it from the Moorish World TV to something else, the Taharka Bey show or something. Because there's nothing else Moorish on here. These are all attacks of outsiders. You know, you're causing confusion according to the prophet's warning. Your views are going up in the process, but guess what? It's a dead-end road. By doing that, some of these started to attack you back. And now it's not so cool. A lot of these attacks that are out there that they're doing back to you is because your motivation was to drive views alone. It's not a law on the prophet. I noticed that you don't give praise and honors to the prophet on any of your shows anymore. I haven't heard you give praise and honors in a very long time. But the platform begins to go down, and then in your last run-in, after you created a bunch of enemies, you run into Tariq Nasheed. And now this is not going so well. And now you got one too many enemies, and the tide is, you know, the scale is tipping on you a little bit. You know, this is the end of the platform because of what you did. Look at the way that the platform evolved. You know, but what my point is, this is a very fraudulent misrepresentation of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. You know, it's fraudulent. And like I said, this whole part about you being a little bit, you showing the signs of a sociopath is a little problematic. It's disturbing. You need to stop. You know, and I'm going to end I don't know if you have anything that you wanted to add to that, Brother Serrano, but I'm going to end that there. We're pushing up on 3 hours. I'm going to play a couple of clips as an outro, you know, to round off a couple of more of the absurd points, and then we're gonna close this out. Islam, you're still muted, Sheikh, I think. There you go.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
You know, I'm just sitting here and I'm trying to take all of this stuff in. And, you know, we are taught in the Moorish Science Temple of America that Allah allows U-turns. Right?
Yeah, good point.
And so Allah is ever merciful, loving.
Islam.
Brother Taharka Bey is our brother. I love Brother Taharka Bey. I don't have anything personal with Brother Taharka Bey. I don't think we've ever had any, like, you know, personal negative interactions ever. I met the brother, I think once in person. And, you know, the brother seemed like a very zealous brother. He's very hyper, and, you know, praise Allah for that, you know. But we here when you're ready to come on and make that U-turn. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Yeah, and that was just kind of the same thought that I actually wanted to share. Hopefully the brother comes to his senses. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm definitely not gonna play around now, because you know, you started off with a really nasty attack because you thought the Moors wouldn't or couldn't do anything. And then when I'm coming on a very even keel, like, stop it. And you want to be nasty, you want to throw around these crazy terms and all, just talking about Skittles. Whoa, like, you know what I mean? Like that, you know, that's not how a man operates. And it's funny, you know, I was about to say, you know, it's funny how one of the things that he does is accuses people of things that he actually does himself. But, you know, but my thought is the same as Brother Taharka Bey's. If, you know, hopefully you snap out of it. I haven't given up on you, but we're not going to play either. You know, I was your brother for a certain reason. You were standing with truth. I don't know where you're standing right now at this point. You know, I'm not going to, you know, I will pray that you know, bring it back into order. And with that, I'm going to play these outro videos more, so we can get out of here. And play this first one. These are a couple of last clips that actually, you know, speak to some of the things that were said by the brother. See if I can find it. We unshare as we close out. I want to thank you, Brother Taharka Bey. This is, you know, you did an awesome job. Thank you for taking the time out. This is like 3 long hours going through these things. Thank you for taking the time, Brother Sheikh. Praise Allah. And here, I'm gonna play a couple of videos.
It's going to hurt a little bit. Yep, it's going to hurt a little bit, because it's just raw truth. And it's the raw truth about it. I mean, it's a fascinating story, actually.
It is.
It's not one of them stories that you want to hear as it relates to me wrong.
Sorry.
To New York and something.
Hold on.
And it's the raw truth about it. I mean, it's a fascinating story, actually. It's not one of them stories that you want to hear as it relates to someone that has made such a powerful impact on humanity. And no, I'm doing this right now. Hold on one second. You turned it down? Be wrong. Other than that, keep it pushing. Just keep it pushing. If you disagree with what I present, step up and prove me wrong. If you don't want to do that, keep it pushing. Just keep it pushing. Because if you mention my name, I'm telling you, it's going to be a Moorish World TV show like tonight. And that's just what it is. I understand. We only wear what the prophet wear. With that being said, family, I'm up out of here. I appreciate y'all. My brother, Cyrus L. Just go. Brother, I don't have no hate in my heart. Let me be clear. I don't have no hate in my heart. I have love for truth. And I'm doing this not to ruffle your feathers, not to ruffle anybody's feathers. I'm doing this so the new generation can come in and learn properly. And so we can hopefully build something that is sustainable. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to ruffle anybody's feathers or try to get somebody members. You know what I'm saying? Most people members right now has already took the ill pill that make them go to sleep even deeper than they was when they was supposedly in the Negro, black, and colored in the ignorant land. So I don't really. If you didn't think it was real, and for you think yourself is real, you have to think that the alternative is not. So just because I speak it and you don't, that doesn't mean that you are not in the same space, but on the other side of the spectrum. Because again, you believe that where you're at is the ultimate place of truth. And if that's the case, that means the alternative is not. So just because I teach it, y'all be whispering it in your little corners. Just like you said, and you trying to create your own temple. There you go. That's what y'all whisper in your corner. Taharka created his own temple. No, we look at the prophet model and we duplicate it. There ain't no Taharka temple. We want to do exactly what the prophet did. Our assistant Grand Sheik asked me, and this is how open we are. Our assistant Grand Sheik Robinson L asked me, I know he probably watching. Our assistant Grand Sheik Robinson L asked me, let me see if I can pull it up. He asked me yesterday. Now, was it today?
Jokes on the prophet.
I'm gonna go over it in Sunday class.
Great.
He asked me, he said, Grand Sheik, what's up? He said, what's up with the prophet's sheik bag? He said, hold on 1 second. And let me pull it up real quick before I get out of here.
Really?
He said,
telling on yourself, Mo.
He said, Grand Sheik, you see that bag on side the prophet? He said, he said, what's up with the prophet's sheik bag? Is that the man purse? You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But we are so comfortable with each other, and we are so comfortable with truth, that we can throw some things out there and we can build from that point. You know what I'm saying? We don't try to act like we are all polished up and like the brother was up there, you know, and we call it like it is. And it was a joke.
You have two selves.
But it was
the higher self and the lower self. The conflict has always been with the self. Will you perish or will you conquer? The choice is yours.
I'm caught up in the flesh again. My lower self got me acting up and out again. chasing illusions of the world. But how could I survive without being of the world? Being poor keep you stressing. Religious folks saying you should count your blessings. My reply, just breathing, ain't living. Need my heaven right now, ask Allah for forgiveness. I'm really trying to live accordingly, but my surroundings bring me down like it's gravity. So it's time for me to go into the wilderness and look into my heart so I can build it up and strengthen it. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life anytime. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life anytime. All hell, no Marys. I speak the truth cause the truth is necessary. You know the truth will set you free. An attribute of Allah and Allah's me. And then attempt to say
Prove it. I know your whole life you used to be ruthless.
Then I said I had no guidance or direction. Before the prophet came, no patterns or lessons.
You got them now and you're still in your lower self. So speak now, ever hold your tongue myself.
So it's time for me to go into the wilderness and look into my heart so I can build it up and strengthen it. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life anytime. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life anytime. Now I'm wrestling and wrestling, back and forth from my spirit to my flesh again. Trying to transmute the flesh divine, crossing the borderline that we're leaving the low behind. A conflict that can't be told in words. No me so bomb, but state of mind like a spoken word. My ambition is to really be free of sin, but temptation keep calling, won't let me win. My heart is fixed away from me, all tempted thoughts. My enemy is myself and I'm fighting hard. So it's time for me to go into the wilderness and look into my heart so I can build it up and strengthen it. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life anytime. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life. I'm bound down to carnal life anytime. By many times. I am a Moorish American, fight for the rights of every human. I am a Moorish American, fight for us right. Fight, man. I am a Moorish American, fight for us right. We knew the world wasn't flat, we were selling it already. Up and down the Mississippi, we were here already. First ever treaty, Rock of Gibraltar. The Moors in Spain, where they taught you how to conquer. Bathhouse builders, massive light barricaded rubber street lights so we can travel them better. Math and science, periodic table of pyramids was the only thing that we did greater. We built this America we live in now. From our minds to our back to the sweat of our brow. Can't tell me nothing about the red, white, and blue. We started this here, I'm American. True.